right, everybody, welcome to the second attempt at this live, incredibly live edition of the Real Food TV. You're watching Food Gaming Live. All right. So, what we're going to be talking about today, spoke about it a little while ago if anybody was in here. The stream crashed. I don't know what caused it, but it happened. All right, one moment, just setting up the chat. I got it working now. We had some flaws, some technical issues, but seems to be corrected now. Hopefully it stays this way. All right, we're going to be talking about the double standards in the gaming world, people. We have a pretty well-known YouTube gamer over here. Gamer girl, I guess if you want to call her that. Showing that she is incredibly biased. And I think a lot of times what you see from these little influencer people is that they do this because their fan base is a bunch of like corny little, I don't know what they are, little trolls. So they and that's okay, I guess. Well, not really. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, if you're a grown person, even if you're a child, this is not acceptable behavior. I mean, look, if you're going to dislike something, you should have an actual sound reason why, right? If you ask these people why they hate the Xbox so much, they couldn't give you a reason. And so I watched this video recently, and I'm like, what the hell is this lady talking about? Like, she's just talking a bunch of crap. All of it is like, you could tell that I don't know if she's not researching, or she's just lying because it's the trendy thing to hate the Xbox, which I have a problem with people hating things and not understanding why they dislike them. It's not a very good thing. Not a good thing for civilization. Not a good thing for even the gaming market. Because look, you got a company over here, Xbox, and they're doing a lot of stuff for the gaming industry and for gamers, right? They're actually the most, to me, or not to me, just if you actually can analyze what's happening, or do a proper comparison, these guys are giving a lot more than the competition. They're giving a lot more options. They got a lot more software coming out, and they don't treat their customers like complete garbage. For example, they put out a Master Chief Collection a few years ago, and they just keep adding stuff to it for free. I mean, if you bought that game back when it came out, probably at this point, almost like, it's got to be around 10 years ago, they've been adding stuff to that for years, and most of it is all free. I think the only thing that wasn't free was Halo Reach, right? I think that was like the only thing. But I could be wrong on that. I think Halo Reach was added to the collection after. They just added it. The same with the OSP, something like that. It's called. That was another campaign that they added to the package. And then they added 4K. They added 120 frames per second. They added HDR. They added all this stuff and it was all free, right? And then they added the new online, right? The online, the new online infrastructure that they have there. And a lot of people enjoy it. I enjoy it. But when you go and you look at the competition, you got a company like Nintendo, who's recently re-released Super Mario Galaxy, a straight up Nintendo Wii port. They've added HDR? Wow. They added DRM to it. Is that amazing? DRM. Now you don't own it anymore. It's so much better than the Wii version. Now you don't own it in 4K. And it dips down. It doesn't even keep a consistent 60 frames per second. And they're charging $70. Isn't that amazing? Xbox over here, they just gave me a free copy of Gears of War Reloaded the other day. And that isn't because I got this super large channel, which I should. We definitely should. But I got it because I'm a customer and it sees through their system that I purchased all the Gears of War games. So they said, here you go. You know, as a token of our appreciation that you've been supporting the series, here's a free copy of Gears of War Reloaded, which is the new remaster that they just put out, like, a few weeks ago? I mean, there's so many comparisons you can make between these three companies, and every single time, for most of them, the Xbox is going to be on top. But you got people like this lady here that blames this company for all the bad that's happening in the industry. We're going to go over it. We're going to analyze her video. All right, 1 second. I just got to find the video. What the F? Okay. We're doing it live, people. We're doing it live. This is already my software's crashed once. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. All right. Right. We're going to look for this. Hopefully I didn't lose the video. That would not be good. All right. Just looking through my files. Okay. Where the F is this? All right. I think I found it. Okay. Obviously she's monetized. She's basically a troll. That's why I think either she's a troll or she's just very uninformed and she's just basically a little sheep. And so she goes along with what the choir wants. The choir wants you to hate things. And you apply this to everything in life. People think this is just gaming, but this goes even outside of gaming, this kind of mentality of, well, the people want me to hate this, so I'm going to hate it. Okay? I have to hate them. Why do you hate them? Because I do. Because I just do. Okay, so right now, people, guess what? Got another glitch. Isn't that amazing? I'm going to fix this real quick. Give me one moment. My full screen is effed up. All right. SGT, what's up, man? All right, that's in the comments right now. Give me 1 second. I'm just setting up right here, man. We're almost at my full screen's messed up. I have to find where the hell my full screen is. See if I can fix this. Got some hotkeys here. Maybe I could just fix it with the hotkeys. Oh, there you go. It's fixed. All right, here we go. This is the video I'm going to be analyzing. Look at her. Look at the background here, people. She got Nintendo shit all over the place. All right, she's going to shit on the Xbox nonstop. Got 2 YouTube plaques over here, but yet she's, you know, she's just spitting bullshit. That's what it seems like. It's not what it seems like. It's exactly what it is. And we're going to find out how much full of crap she is in this video. Look at all this stuff in the background, all this Nintendo shit. Nintendo, you got on the left side of her, you have all the Wii games. You know, she loves this company a lot, doesn't she? And this company, no, you got Wii U games in the back as well. She just loves Nintendo. You didn't have no problem with Nintendo now selling $90 games. But we're going to go over that over the course of the stream, all right? One moment. All right, I've got 4 Xbox mates who I play online with. None of us own a PlayStation or a Nintendo. Just Xbox, and Halo 2 was the game we all got into. Yeah, man, that's when I first got into online games. Gaming was Halo 2. I was amazed by it. Amazed. All right, here we go.
Not what's just been exposed about the brand should terrify all gamers. The recent
We're gonna go back a little bit. Again, this lady, what she's gonna do is she's gonna point at Xbox and say they are the #1 evil in the industry, right? #1 evil. They've created everything. They're the #1 greed, and they just destroying everything.
Whether you own an Xbox or not, what's just been exposed about the brand should terrify all gamers. The recent Xbox leaks have
I'm terrified. I'm crying right now, actually.
pulled back the curtain on something far more dangerous than a corporate blunder. They've revealed just how little the world's biggest tech companies actually care about the people who play their games. According to Bloomberg's Jason
just so you know, guys, obviously these companies don't give a shit about you. Just like she doesn't give a shit about the people that watch her videos. She doesn't care about them, but she's getting money from them, isn't she? She's getting money from them, and she's not even delivering a great product, as we're gonna see, because she's giving them a bunch of false bullshit information. She can't be balanced. That's one of my big problems. I mean, you could go and talk about these companies all you like, but I mean, maybe a little bit of balance there. Maybe look at the whole industry. Don't just look at this one company and blame everything on them. But once again, it's cool to hate them. And if you look at this lady's channel, she has nothing on there about any other company. It's all ragging on the Xbox. And she excuses everything Sony and Nintendo do.
Dina Bass, Microsoft's chief financial officer, Amy Hood, imposed a demand that Xbox deliver profit margins of 30%, a figure so absurd that even the most successful publishers in the industry rarely touch it. This proves...
Which is what you call bullshit, right? Right off the bat, give me 1 second. Console war ending. I'm going through my files over here, people. Give me 1 moment. All right, so this is the 30%. Okay. All right, here it is. All right, so she's saying this number is absurd. Remember, look at the background. You see the background there? She has all this Nintendo shit all over the place. Look at this. 30%. Started in the 1980s. It was actually a standard created by Nintendo. Isn't that funny? All right, I'm going to read this document real quick. It says Nintendo's 30% listing 1980s, the 30% platform fee model, which Nintendo introduced with the NES, has had a lasting impact on the video game industry. This fee structure, which includes a 10% licensing fee for the console and an additional 20% for cartridge production. Keep in mind, people, they still do this fee, and there's no cartridge production, okay? All right, so it became a standard in console and storefront licensing. It was not only a revenue model for Nintendo, but also influenced the industry's licensing practices for decades to come. People, this is still happening today. This is the same amount that Sony charges all these different companies. But the funny part about it is, remember, the 20% fee was for cartridge production. All right. So where is this? Why is there still that 20% in there? We have the 10%, right? It says that this fee structure, which includes 10% licensing fee for the console, right? So I'm guessing, I mean, it says licensing fee. So to put it on the console, it's 10%. Why are we still having 30%? But as it says here, it says that this became a standard. All right. These games are going through the marketplace digitally. So why is it not 10%? So because they're greedy. That's why. But again, you saw what she just said, right? She's putting all this blame on the Xbox. All right. So we're going to finish this. Where was I? Production became all right. So the 20% for the cartridge production became a standard in consoles and storefronts licensing. It was not only a revenue model for Nintendo, but also influenced the industry licensing practices for decades to come. The NES success in the 1980s and early 1990s helped revive the American gaming industry. So it goes on about the revival, and the 30% fee model has been a point. Okay, so they're talking about a lot of upset developers, and that's still happening today, people. Sony's actually being sued for this. The funny part about this 30% is that, first of all these guys were charging this. The Xbox was charging from 10% to 20%, but that they changed it up for who has the money. So they're not going to charge 20% from a small developer, right? Like an indie developer. You know who will? Nintendo and Sony. All right, that's not a problem, right? That they're doing that. They're treating all of them equal. You have a company that has hundreds of millions in the bank, and Nintendo and Sony are treating them like they're a multi-billion-dollar company. You know who wasn't doing that? The Xbox wasn't doing that. But now they want 30%, and that's a big problem. But as you just saw, people, it was Nintendo that created this standard 40 years ago, over 40 years ago.
That the company's priorities no longer lie with players, but solely with shareholders and spreadsheets. When the hollow pursuit of quarterly growth replaces creativity, risk, and long-term vision, you can quickly begin to see why the future becomes so bleak. For decades, gaming thrived because of risk takers, developers who spent years crafting worlds that might not make money straight away, but
I feel like the lady's just like making mouth sounds, because them wanting 30%, how does that limit creation? Look, if she loves Nintendo and Sony, how is the 30% affected them? Right? Why would it affect them? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Just because they want the 30% doesn't mean that creativity is going to end.
Pushed the medium forward. Yet Microsoft's leaked goals should make it clear the era is over.
Their leaked goals of 30%, which is what all the other companies have been taking in for decades now. Again, this lady, either she's being dishonest or she's just not researching anything. She just wants to go with the choir and hate this company just for the sake of hating it, because it's the cool thing to do.
What's worse, though, is that when a corporation this powerful decides that imagination is expendable,
and where does she get this from? Anybody understand? Like, where does she get this from? The imagination is expendable? Like, where in that statement did it say anything about that? Just because they want 30% doesn't mean that people can't make games that are, like, innovative or different, you know? This don't make any sense, what she's saying.
Consequences reach everyone. Studios stop experimenting, creativity is punished, and audiences are trained to accept less.
Creativity is only punished by the people that don't buy those games. If you put out a different game, a different style of game, and people don't buy it, that's not Xbox that's punishing you, or Sony or Nintendo. That's the consumers not buying your product.
Surprises, fewer risks, fewer flashes of genuine vision. Yeah, we all suffer. So bearing this in mind, this isn't just another console war story. It's a warning about what happens when a technology company stops caring about the people who play its games.
So I guess Nintendo and Sony don't care about gamers then, right? Just the same. But we're just going to put it all on the Xbox's back, even though they're giving gamers many, many, many options, right? And they're literally opening the market with this new hybrid console where you can buy games from any storefront. You know, that's one of the most pro-consumer things that you can do, is allow people to just buy from many different markets. And actually, from what I've seen recently, Sony's trying to do the same thing which I find very funny because for weeks there, people were saying Xbox is dead. They don't have a console anymore. They're opening it up to, getting PC games, and you could buy the games everywhere. And then they put out a report recently that Sony's doing the exact same thing. And not only are they doing it, but they ripped off the Xbox, because this report came out recently, this internal document, and they're literally just ripping off the Xbox. They're trying to do a similar thing to them. But when Sony does it, they call it a win. They say, this is amazing. This is a win for gamers. But when the Xbox does it, it's garbage and the Xbox is dead, and that whole thing.
Because once profits completely replaces passion, we stop mattering altogether.
Yeah, bro, you never mattered really to these people. They have no emotional connection to you. But you have to understand that if gamers aren't happy, then these guys don't make money. So this whole idea that they don't care about gamers, they don't want to give gamers what they want. They definitely want to give gamers what they want, because when they give them what they want, they rake in the big bucks. Okay. So this is a very stupid idea that, they don't care about gamers, so they're just going to give them whatever they want? No, this doesn't make any sense.
I am Lady Decade, and if you want games to be made by those who love them and not by those who exploit them, then hit that subscribe button, because this, well...
All right, it's got PC Master Race. I regret Brian Kingdom Come. Dell 2. They should have named it... Oh, I mean, most of those games are like that, man, aren't they? Red Dead Redemption sort of is like that in a way. It's like a bunch of chores, and you're like, I don't know, man. It's just sometimes those slow-paced games, I just can't really get into them. She's a douche. All right, come on. 20% for Plastic, FOH. Been having fun playing BF6 and Cyberpunk. I'm late on Cyberpunk. Me too, man. I haven't finished Cyberpunk yet. I played a little bit of it years ago. It was very glitchy when it came out. But I'm going to get back around to it. I've actually been messing around with it on the Xbox Ally X. Runs really well on there. Very, very well. I think it actually runs at 60 frames if you tweak the settings. Can't wait for a real boxing game. Yeah, I heard that EA, they're going to be working on a new Fight Night fairly soon. Not a huge fan of that Undisputed game. Not huge. I think it's good, but I feel like they put out some updates that really messed the experience up a ton. I mean, it feels like they're kind of dumbing it down with each update, right? Look at that. Why every freeze frame I do of her, she looks drunk or something.
This is just the beginning. AAA gaming today often feels less like entertainment and more like a coordinated effort to see just how far they can push us before we finally snap. Every new release comes with another layer of manipulation, overpriced deluxe editions, cynical...
Yeah, overpriced. So you can say that again, right? Look at this. Fucking Wii video game, a Wii game, re-released for $70, okay? And they've done nothing to it, people. Nothing. It's the same Wii game, only now it's $70, and it's got DRM. They added nothing to it. There's no remaster here or anything like that. It's just a Wii game running at 4K and sub 60 frames per second. You're going to pay $60 for DRM, huh, people? You can go online. Like, this is it right here. Look at this. I looked it up. Look, you can buy a copy of Mario Galaxy in the box, which actually has value because you could sell it in the future if you don't want it anymore. These physical games, they're going out. These guys want to push a digital future. So it is the time now to buy this stuff. And this probably is going to be worth something in the future. This stuff, you own it. There's no DRM applied to this stuff. You got a $14 copy there of Mario Galaxy. You can buy this stuff dirt cheap right now. All right? And I'll tell you this is way better than going and buying that shit on that Switch 2 where you got DRM. If your internet doesn't work, then you cannot play that title. Which I find this really interesting that people are crying about the $10 on Game Pass, but they don't cry about the fact that now with DRM, you need to have an internet service provider in order to access your $70 and $90 games. I say this because Nintendo is actually selling games for $90. Talk about greedy, huh, people? Pretty damn greedy. $90. You know that the reason why the price is, they said the $70, how they justified the $70 price was this idea of, the game budgets are going higher, so we need to charge you $70. The reality of that is that they're lying and they just wanted more money. That's really what it was. Because I mean, look, they're spending less money now. These guys are not. You're getting a digital copy. It's on a It's on a storefront, a digital storefront. So why do you have this $20? Why is it not just 10%? Right? Because I read the thing to you earlier. Remember, it was 10% for the licensing fee, and then $20 for the cartridge for the production, I guess, and storing and so on. Now they got digital storefronts, and they're trying to charge you, when it comes to Nintendo, $80 and $90, $70 for a Wii game with no upgrades. It's kind of crazy, but that's that Nintendo difference. And the reason I keep bringing this up is because she says nothing about Nintendo. It's all ragging on the Xbox.
Battle passes, unfinished launches padded out with microtransactions, all designed to squeeze every last penny out of players who just wanted to enjoy a good game. Is a machine built to fleece?
I think she's just like rambling on. If she just wants to say things and try to make it stick. A lot of people I've never understood this for decades now, people complaining about microtransactions. You know, people that you don't have to buy microtransactions. No one's forcing anybody to buy these little shirts and, whatever they have in these games. I remember back in the day, I bought some maps for Call of Duty 2, and I was happy with that. I was like, oh, this is awesome. They have like new maps. And I was okay with that. They went in and they developed that. They had a team of people who made those maps. And I don't know people, I don't know if you know this, but some of these classic shooter games, these guys work real hard at building these maps. They want to get that perfect flow and the perfect areas. They're doing all this play testing. And so there's work that goes into that. So people have to pay. And obviously these companies want to make more money, so they get the people in, and they want the game to have more longevity. And they don't want people to sell it. So, this is a way of keeping people to keep it in their house, don't just sell it. So it's got more value, and they keep adding value to it. So I don't see a big issue with it. My issue is if you had like a story-based game and they chopped it in half and they didn't finish it, and then now you buy the second part, or it's just missing tons of features. There's like almost nothing in there, but they've already charged you $60. Most of these companies, I don't think they really do that. They just add extra value. You got the product you purchased, and then there's extra. I don't see a problem with it. If you don't like it, just don't buy it. Don't get the microtransactions. But I don't see the big thing of crying about it. And this lady is just one of many, many, many people that harp on this microtransaction stuff. And it makes no sense. Again, you don't want it, don't buy it.
Us while pretending it's doing us a favour. But thankfully, not every corner of the industry has fallen that far. There are still incredible honest games out there that are worth your playtime. And even better than that, I know where you can find them for next to nothing. Use my links below to save huge money.
There she goes. There you go. She gets monetized, right? Maybe she pushed their little garbage agendas, right?
On treating us like wallets with thumbs.
All right, sorry, I skipped over a little bit. Wallets with thumbs, yeah.
Savings on thousands more, because if the AAA world insists on treating us like wallets with thumbs, we may as well play smart and beat them at their own game. Happy shopping, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of this video.
Inbound.
Not really. It's these garbage hot takes, and she gets monetized.
The current philosophy at Xbox didn't appear overnight. It was seeded years before these leaks ever saw daylight. Back in 2021, according to The Information, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella was handed a brutal ultimatum: either expand Xbox dramatically or start winding it down. Game Pass wasn't pulling in the third-party support the company had banked on, profits were lagging, and internally the division's future looked uncertain. Xbox, the brand that once promised to jump in and redefine gaming, was quietly fighting for survival. But
I don't agree with any of this. I don't think they're fighting for survival in any way. They've been profitable for a long time. They may not be selling the amount of units as Sony is, but that's built on a lot of the hate. Because it's basically pushed in the culture, in the gaming culture, to hate this company and to hate this brand. That's really what's happening, and I think that's why a lot of people just aren't buying it. It's pretty sick, the whole thing, because these guys, actually, this company is the one that gives, I think, the most value. Sony over here, people, they had a whole generation, and they haven't put out anything. They put out this Ghost of Tsushima, right? This thing the other day, which is just whatever. It's another single-player campaign with not much there outside of this like dark story. Like they have, Sony's just one note. It's almost like they keep creating the same game over and over again, and it's all negative. It's all dark. Like you go to the Xbox, they got a variety of different kind of games, and they got multiplayer and everything, co-op. They want to build an environment that is, in a lot of ways, kind of positive. Sony's just all dark, 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 dark. This shit gets real corny.
Instead of addressing the root problems, the creative stagnation, the identity crisis, the bloated infrastructure, Nadella chose the coward's route. He didn't rebuild Xbox, he bought it.
And they're the cowards. Now they're cowards. It's not a cowardly move to go and buy a company for $70 billion. That's called a very dangerous investment. And they need to understand that these guys, not only did they buy Activision, but now they spent the $70 billion, and now they need to fund the projects. They have a lot of employees to pay, and they got a lot to do there. It's not as simple as just buying a company. Yeah, you bought the talent, you bought the IPs, but now you need to funnel more money into that in order to build these projects. So that's not a coward's move. That's a very calculated, dangerous move. All right, because that's a lot of money to spend, and once you spend that money, now you got to spend a lot more in order to actually power what you just purchased. So this whole thing about a coward's way is a really shitty, stupid thing to say. You want to know the coward's way? I'll show you again. This is the coward's way, where you just take the games you built like 20 years ago and you go and you do nothing to them. Then you slap a $70 price tag on it in DRM and just give it back to your customers. Say, here you go, eat my shit. That's the coward's way. Not going and making a $70 billion acquisition and then making more and more games and paying thousands more employees and working on many, many more projects, right? So this is such a stupid statement she makes here. And it just shows that she doesn't know what she's talking about, or she's just got a negative bend to this company, which they all do. But I bet you if I question this woman here, she wouldn't even know why she hates this company. Or she would say all this dumb crap, and then I'd say, well, Nintendo's doing that, and Sony's doing that, and Nintendo's doing that too, and they're doing that, and they're doing that, and they're doing it all worse. This is why they're being sued right now. Nintendo in the past was sued, and I know that Sony's being sued right now for their practices, what they're doing with these indie developers, and they're trying to charge 30% and all this for no good reason. For no reason, because they got a digital storefront. These guys, they're really not losing anything. And good people going into the next generation, Sony is like, in a lot of ways, and Nintendo are kind of fucked. And I knew this. I said this weeks ago. And now I'm seeing that Sony's trying to get into, they're getting into this whole hybrid console thing. They're going to try it as well because they know that by comparison, their next system is going to look like garbage compared to this new Xbox. That's a lot of flexibility that you can go on Steam and get games for like $2. Or you can get this high-end version of a game. Like you can get a game like, for example, like Mad Max, right? It's on the PlayStation 5 and it's backwards compatible on the PlayStation 5 and it's on the PS4. It runs at 30 frames per second at like 1080p, all right? Now imagine on the Xbox, it's already on the Xbox, they've upgraded that game and it runs at 120 frames. But imagine, but it's not 4K, right? But imagine now you can go day one on your new Xbox, because it's a hybrid console, you can go and purchase Mad Max, the same game, and now it runs at 200 frames per second at 4K with HDR and everything. And then you go look at Sony and it's 30 frames. Doesn't change, all right? So that's just one example of why this hybrid console is going to be amazing, okay?
In a year, Microsoft threw $7.5 billion at ZeniMax, and by 2023, an eye-watering $75.4 billion at Activision.
That's called a crazy investment, and that's a lot of risk. A lot of risk. That acquisition alone is almost that's almost half of what Sony's worth as a company, as a whole. Every division of Sony combined, that's almost half of what they have. And they put that in there. Now, again, they need to now fund projects, all right, to make their money back and, and so on and going into the future and just keep building, right? This is not a coward move. This is a very committed company, okay? This is commitment to gaming. It's very obvious.
Blizzard, the biggest gaming acquisition in history. Not necessarily because any of this solved anything, but because it looked like action. And
I mean, I don't want to be solely rude, but this sounds really stupid. Not that this solved anything. They just bought them like literal months ago. Okay, it takes years to make games.
Right on cue, Amy Hood, Microsoft's chief financial officer since 2013, swooped in to ensure the numbers would match the narrative. As Bloomberg later exposed, Hood imposed a so-called accountability margin of 30%. Corporate jargon...
Right, we spoke about this already. The company that she loves so much, Nintendo, were the ones that standardized this in the 1980s. Do your research, lady.
For predatorily squeezing every drop of profits possible.
Predatorily. Like I said, people, it's fucking disgusting that I do on this channel. We do many different kinds of videos. And the fact that I barely do gaming videos, and I do them far better than this woman does. This woman's been doing this kind of videos for years. This is such a stupid video. Like almost, I'm telling you, this is one of the reasons I'm analyzing it, because she's not the only one that has these garbage hot takes. These guys all over the YouTube and all over the internet got these trash hot takes, and they either they're ignorant and they don't actually do research, or they're just full of shit and they're just lying. Because I showed you right there that 30%, all these other companies are doing it. So why do these guys have to pay the price? They're the ones that got to get looked at as you're evil, you're evil. Like why? For the 30% that Nintendo's been doing for over 40 years.
Regardless of creative costs. The timing was no coincidence. The ink on the Activision deal was barely dry, and Microsoft was desperate to prove that its $75 billion gamble could hit the same obscene margins Activision once enjoyed. Overnight, Xbox stopped being a long-term creative investment and became a corporate asset expected to behave like an aging software division, churning out
Nothing of what she's saying makes any damn sense. Okay? None of it.
Profitable, risk-free products every quarter.
Where does she get this risk-free shit from? Like you just saw right there, they had this game called, what is that? That one, they got the little like, it's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like these guys are putting out all kinds of stuff. Sea of Thieves. No risk. You know how big the budget is for Call of Duty, lady? You know how, and I don't know if I have the document in here, but Microsoft spends an operating cost for a Game Pass of $1 billion a year. They spend $1 billion every year to put new software into Game Pass. They don't know this, but I bet you Sony doesn't do anything close to that. Nintendo doesn't do it either. For you guys, anybody that gets Game Pass, for you to be able to play those games that are in that service, this company has to shell out $1 billion. That's a huge risk. Okay? That's a big risk.
The message from the top couldn't have been clearer. Passion doesn't pay. Innovation doesn't matter.
Right now on Xbox Game Pass, you can play Ninja Gaiden 4. That game literally just came out. The reason it's in Game Pass is because these guys had to pay to have it in there. Okay? Now go to Sony's service, the one that costs $20 a month. I promise you're not going to see Ninja Gaiden 4 in there. I bet you won't.
And gamers exist solely to make the shareholders smile. The problem was simple.
Again, with the shareholders constantly, it's all greed. It's not like this is a business.
Numbers wanted were never possible. According to the S&P Global Market Intelligence, the average operating margin across major publishers and platform holders sits between 17 and 22%. And even that was artificially inflated by the pandemic boom. Nintendo, arguably the gold standard of profitability in gaming, only manages around 25% thanks to a rare advantage. It sells hardware at a profit and relies on timeless first-party juggernauts like Mario, Zelda and Pokemon. Sony's
just keep that in mind, what you just said there. She just called them timeless classics. But watch the way she talks about the stuff on the Xbox, stuff like Call of Duty and so on. Those are timeless classics. They're not milking that at all, right, guys? I'll show you this real quick. Give 1 second. Got some files over here. Gonna put some music on. Got to do it. All right, console wars ending. Looking through my files. All right. So, timeless classics. These guys don't milk nothing, right? Look at that. As of 2024, there are 24 mainline Super Mario games. Additionally, Mario has appeared in or has cameos in more than 300 games over the years, including various spin-offs and mini-games. So Mario is in 300 different video games, people. And then they have 24 mainline Super Mario games, right? Nintendo is milking the hell out of Super Mario. It's disgusting. It's like Super Mario Golf, Super Mario Tennis, Mario Kart. It's just never ending. And she makes it out like these companies like Nintendo's making like high art. People, this is just milking their gaming community. They got one mainline character and they just keep milking it. They're not creating new ones. Where's the new ones? Because I know this console, Xbox, is creating all kinds of different characters. They have many different games, many different leads. Okay? You don't have like Halo Kart, Halo Tennis, Halo Basketball. That shit is corny, and it's just milking and in many ways insulting your intelligence.
PlayStation division, despite dominating the industry for years, typically operates on razor.
And also, people, look, the way she glosses over this, she blames Xbox for this 30%. Meanwhile, both Sony and Nintendo have had this 30% royalties, or whatever you want to call it. They've had it for many years. They've been doing this. So why is it that she's shitting on the Xbox, and in the next breath she's calling these Nintendo games timeless classics? And it's just amazing, and then she brings up Sony, and it's the same. It's positive. There's no negativity there at all. Okay, and keep in mind these two companies, Nintendo and Sony, are charging you upgrade fees for games you already own. All right. So here's another example. When I purchased my Xbox Series X, I got all kinds of free upgrades. I got what was it? I got Halo Master Chief Collection is 120 frames. Right. That's one thing. And then they got all these games. They added over 70 games in one day one time. That was a list. Well, not just a list. They added 70 upgrades to over 70 titles. And these titles are from the 360 and the OG Xbox. And I think even Xbox One in there. And they all got upgrades. We're talking about frame rate upgrades, different features, resolution updates, and so on. All kinds of stuff. And they added like a shit ton of games, like 70 games in one day to the backwards compatibility list. All these games in 4K now. Guess how much I paid for that? $0. It was free. Okay? Nothing. Then they put out the same day that this new Xbox came out, they put out a remaster of Gears of War. The way they call it a patch. Sony calls it a remaster. Nintendo calls it a remaster. And guess what Nintendo and Sony do? They charge you upgrade fees. So now you bought your $500 PlayStation 5 and you want to play your copy of Spider-Man. Now you put Spider-Man in there. You know what happens? That game utilizes 0% of the new hardware you purchased. Now you got to give Sony more money in order to unlock your hardware you just purchased. Same for Nintendo. They're over here charging you for shit you already own. So you bought an upgraded console, an upgraded system, just so that you could pay them again in order to use the hardware that you just purchased. They do this. You know who doesn't do this? Xbox doesn't do it. They don't do it. They give you these upgrades because they're like, oh, well, you bought the hardware, and they follow the PC model. It's like you bought the hardware to improve your software. And they do that, and you get it for free. These guys over here are fucking bending you over. But yet this woman doesn't even point this out because she's incredibly dishonest. And that's why I'm exposing this shit. And I'm going to keep exposing these people in the gaming community because they're some of the biggest bullshit artists around. Either they're dishonest or they're just a bunch of sheep that want to hate this thing just for the sake of hating it. All right? And that's not a very healthy thing to do, people. And that branches out much further into civilization. It isn't just about video games. Okay? This goes far out in other aspects of life.
Dominating the industry for years, typically operates on razor-thin 6 to 8% margins, with court filings from 2022 showing Xbox sitting somewhere between 10 and 20%. Perfectly healthy for a growing platform still investing in its future. Bloomberg's Neil Barber put it plainly. A 30% margin or higher is usually reserved for a publisher that is really nailing it. And that's exactly the point. Publishers don't have to carry the immense financial burden that platform holders do. They don't subsidize consoles, maintain massive online...
Oh, what it shows you is that they're attempting to get bigger, to gobble up bigger portions of the market. And I think they're going to in the next generation. I think this hybrid console is going to really blow people away. It really is. And I think that's why you see Sony trying to now they're trying to do it. But it's really not going to work out well for them because in the new system in gaming, it's going to be a lot about software and services. And the problem is that Sony has really not invested much of anything into software. What they've been doing for the last decade or more is just robbing all the people on their platform, charging 30%, right? Because they're the biggest company around. They're the biggest platform in console gaming. They're the biggest platform. So they're going and they're just taking 30% from everyone. And they're really not investing anything into gaming. Like, you got to admit it, people. Sony really doesn't have many games. They don't. They've been recycling PS4 games this entire generation. We had a remaster of Uncharted Part 1. We had a remaster of a remaster. We had 2 remasters of remasters. Isn't that funny? Because on the PS4 we had the Last of Us, the 1080p edition, right? The remaster. And then this generation, they took the Last of Us 2 engine and they put out Last of Us again. And that was called, it's another remaster. Or a remake. It's the same game. They just reskinned it. It really was just a reskinning. And then they put out Last of Us 2 again. Now in 1080p and whatever, right? It's the same game from the PS4. They really didn't do much. Oh, it's 60 frames now, right? It's the same game. That really should have been released on a patch for free. But Sony's not going to do that because they're not Xbox. You know that? Xbox is better. And then they put out a remaster of Horizon. Okay? They put out a remaster. Actually, I think they put out 2 patches. They put out a patch that I think you had to pay for, an upgrade fee. And then I think they put out another remaster of the same game, the same generation. I mean, I could go on and on. All these guys do the Uncharted, right? They put Uncharted 4 remaster. It really is just a patch. It's in fake 4K. They added 120 frames to it, and they acted like, oh, whoa, give us more money. Give us $50, right? That's one thing. They were charging people $50. And then they had an upgrade fee. It was like $10, 15, somewhere around there. I purchased it. It doesn't look as good as the PC version, but again, they're charging you over and over again. This is what this company does. This is what Nintendo and Sony does. But the Xbox got to get shit on, but not Sony or Nintendo. This is why I really dislike these gaming content creators, because they're incredibly dishonest.
Infrastructures or bankroll unprofitable passion projects just to make their ecosystem appealing. They sell digital products, low risk, high rewards.
Low risk. You literally just said Nintendo they put out their classic games. You know what you call that? Low risk. Last time I checked, the Xbox is investing in new franchises. There's this thing called the Outer Worlds, right? That's only one of them. There's many of them. They're invested in a lot of different properties. They have I got to get a list, but they put out a lot of new IPs in the last 10 years. You know who hasn't? Nintendo hasn't. Sony hasn't.
So when Microsoft demanded publish,
Sony's over here. They're putting out a Wolverine game which plays just like Batman. It's just a reskin version of Batman. That's all it is. It's a gory third-person hack and slash video game. This shit is just for real. It's not creative. It's Wolverine. He slashes people with his claws. Okay, cool.
Level profits from a platform level business.
Oh, look at that. Sea of Thieves. Wow, what does Nintendo or Sony have like that? Nothing. They have nothing like that.
It didn't just move the goalposts. It set the pitch on fire. From that moment on, Xbox was trapped chasing an impossible fantasy.
Oh, look at that. Look what she keeps showing. All these different IPs that Xbox is creating.
It didn't just move the goalposts. It set the pitch on fire.
They got a driving game. They have this Doom game.
From that moment on, Xbox was trapped.
Look at this. They have this other one over here, Grounded, which is another one they created.
Chasing an impossible fantasy.
Like, how many IPs have these fucking guys created in the last 10 years? Loads of them. Here's Battletoads here that they've reintroduced. That was a dead franchise, and they brought it back from the dead.
One where the maths simply didn't work. The result
was... Oh my God, they take no risks. You got to play Super Mario Golf and tennis and driving and all this Mario, right?
Inevitable layoffs, studio closures, and creative projects axed before they even left the ground, all in the service of a spreadsheet fantasy dreamed up by people who don't even play games. Microsoft effectively broke the machine that made Xbox viable. It's like demanding a car manufacturer produce the same margins as an app developer, a delusional metric born of corporate greed. And because the numbers...
It's corporate greed. Bro, they just spent billions of dollars, over $70 billion. They're saying we need this amount of the market. That's not greed. That's just common sense, okay? When you got a business and you're putting this much money into it, You need to make back your money and then some, okay? These are huge investments, all right? And there's no point in making these giant investments if you're not going to eventually be the market leader. The whole point of what these guys are doing in these different companies is they aim to be the market leaders. That's it.
Never add up. The only thing left to cut was everything that made Xbox human. Its creativity.
Xbox is no longer human. You guys know that?
Its risks and its soul. And honestly, if all of this continues to go wrong, Xbox wouldn't even be the first American giant to crash out of the console market. Over on my new retro gaming channel, Lady Arcade, I recently looked...
Yeah, I'm totally going to go to your channel. You're so amazing and your hot takes are great. All right, we got El Barbarino in the comments. Says the engine that allows game devs to be paid are those profits she's complaining about. Again, these people forget that this shit is an industry, that this is a business. They need to make money. All right? Everything's not greed because they're making money. Are you fucking greedy because you want to get your paycheck in order to pay for your housing and your dinner? Right? That's greed. All right? Obviously, they want to make a lot of money because they have huge overheads and they want to just make money because money is safety. The more money they have, the safer the company is. The more money they have, the more they can invest into projects in order to make new experiences and to make more money. Okay? There's nothing wrong with this. It's called capitalism. They do this stuff, yes. And they have many people that work for them that love gaming. Many of the people that work at Xbox love gaming. All right? This is one of the reasons they told the head of the company, the guy who had the money, to invest into gaming. It was both that it's a market. It's a very strong market that's growing constantly. Or they're trying to make it grow more, the Xbox, which is great. That's just going to help everyone. But they love gaming. This lady's just assuming it's all negative. Oh, those people, they don't like gaming. How do you know that? Can you give me some information how you know that?
Back at the Atari Jaguar, a console that promised to be the future but ended up as one of gaming's most fascinating failures. There's something oddly comforting about revisiting that era where the biggest problem we had was whether 64-bit really meant anything.
Okay.
It's a reminder of when gaming still felt experimental, chaotic and full of personality, not the focus-grouped corporate slop that we're drowning in today.
She's saying corporate slop, but look, bro, you're talking all this shit about Xbox. Xbox got more software than both Nintendo and Sony are putting out. So this is ridiculous. But if I'm going to go to her page later, I'm going to show you guys. This lady has no videos talking negative about Nintendo or Sony. It's all Xbox. You go through the whole page, it's just Xbox, all negative. Like, what is Sony investing into gaming? What is Nintendo investing into it? These guys are just milking these franchises. You got God of War. Look at Sony again. God of War, Uncharted. And what else? What do they got? Horizon? You know what they're making right now? They're making another Horizon game. Another God of War. Then they got this thing called the something prophecy. It looks like some fake ass Star Wars. That's all woke. Okay? That's like the only project they got coming out that I know of. That and Wolverine, which is just some corny like hack and slash based on a comic book. What is that? High art? Is that really gonna really just reinvent the wheel? A fucking Batman clone with claws instead of fists. He doesn't just punch you; he slashes you with his fists, right? I remember when the game Rise came out and all these fucking Sony fanboys were all crying about it's just a bunch of timed button presses. Well, what the hell is Spider-Man or this Wolverine game? It's Batman. That's all it is, which is the same thing what Rise was. The game Rise was just, it played like Batman. Okay, but it was ultra violent, all right? Which Sony's never done that, so it wouldn't shock me that this new Wolverine game isn't very heavily inspired by the game Rise. And I bet you it is, because the perspectives when he's doing these kill moves looks like Rise. It's got all the same violence. It's got the Batman gameplay, okay?
So if you need a break from all this modern industry doom and gloom, go check out that video.
I mean, it's this lady's all doom and gloom. Like, this company puts out all this software and they just hate. God, come on, people. Oh, my God. It's just crazy, all the hate these guys get. Like, I could name so many different titles these dudes put out in the last 10 years. There's so many of them. Like, I remember they put out Crackdown. I thought it was a lot of fun, Crackdown. And they just shit on it all day. They're like, oh, this doesn't have a storyline. Why? What? It's got to have some brooding, shitty story about what, coming of age and what? He's a transsexual and he's discovering his identity. I mean, that's what Sony puts out, right? It's got to be some dark dark story about some kid who hates his parents or something. I don't know. This shit's all weird. And then they put out Crackdown's just one of them. Then they put out, what was the other one? This other one called Recore, I think it's called. And the review is just shit all over it. The game plays really great. It's a really fun game to play. But they all shit on it, but then they worship Death Stranding, where you literally just walk around. It just doesn't make any sense. And I think it's all born from the same mentality this lady has. It's just cool to hate this company.
Lose yourself in a time when even our disasters had a bit of charm.
All right, so it's gone to commercial. All right, obviously she's monetized. She spews off a bunch of diarrhea of the mouth and gets monetized for it.
Edition of Activision, Blizzard exposed just how delusional the company's leadership has become.
They're delusional. Why are they delusional?
On paper, it all looked so wonderfully simple. If Activision could pull off the 30 to 32% profit margins, surely Xbox could too once they joined forces. It was a kind of empty corporate optimism that sounds clever in the boardroom but collapses under even a moment's scrutiny.
How does it? I don't understand how it collapses. They literally just bought Activision. They just bought them. So how do you know that this investment will not work out for them? How do you know that? You don't.
Activision's success was never built on creativity. It was built on...
But keep in mind, once again, people, she just kissed the ass of Super Mario. Nintendo with their timeless classics. But what? Activision doesn't have classics? Why? Because it's not, it's a Mario! And you just jump around, you jump on the heads of mushrooms, right? It's not classic because of that. Maybe Call of Duty is a classic, but she's just going to shit all over Call of Duty. But you're going to go and praise Super Mario, right? They're timeless classics.
Exploitation.
Oh, this exploitation. See this again.
Corporate optimism that sounds clever in the boardroom but collapses under even a moment's scrutiny. Activision's success was never built on creativity.
Never built on creativity. Some of the most expensive games to create. They have full scripts, original music, characters, and so on. That none of them could be as creative as "It's a me, Mario." Da 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 da. Right? It just could never be as creative as that, right, lady?
It was built on exploitation.
Exploitation. Super Mario is not exploitation now, is it, guys? What Mario Kart we on right now? Was it Mario Kart 9? The 9th? Okay? The 9th Mario Kart? How many other... I showed you guys over 300 games that got Mario in it. Over 300. That's not exploitation?
Repetition. The company made its billions by churning out the same few franchises over and over.
You see how dishonest this lady is? I told you. This is why I expose these cornballs. Over. They keep churning out the same franchises over and over. Over. And she said, remember, she said timeless classics from Nintendo. Right? See if I can zoom this in. There you go, right there. That's not exploitation, right? You sold this new hardware to people, and then you charge it. Why are you charging $70? Once again, people, the reason for the $7 price was because of the higher budgets of gaming. This is what these guys said. That's why they had to bring it up to 70. Why would you need to bring this one up to 70? This is a port. There was no huge budget for this. You motherfuckers took this shit out, just took it off the shelf or whatever. You got the code already there. You guys created this, and you just... There's no licensing fees, none of that, right? For this, there's no licensing fees. They made this shit. This is being sold on their network, right? There's no middleman. There's no one. I mean, look, this is what it costs digitally. $70 fucking. It's disgusting. So you're going to talk about exploitation? Look, that shit didn't cost. Look, you got to keep in mind, these Call of Duty games, people, these cost hundreds of millions of dollars. You know what didn't cost hundreds of millions of dollars to produce? Mario! It's a me, Mario Galaxy 3! Right? That shit's got a tiny budget. These Call of Duties are in the hundreds of millions of dollars to create one of these. Just one of them.
was a kind of empty corporate optimism that sounds clever in the boardroom but collapses under even a moment's scrutiny. Activision's success was never built on creativity.
Oh, we just saw this.
It was built on exploitation.
All right, it's built on exploitation. I'll show you. You see it. She's just full of trash.
Repetition. The company made its billions by churning out the same few franchises
just like Nintendo, except these guys are way more creative.
Over and over and over. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Candy
Call of Duty, Super Mario. All right, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario Tennis, Super Mario Soccer.
Crush until they became industrial machines.
But again, people, you notice how she's got this bias against, I guess, probably anything manly. I'm gonna guess maybe she's possibly a feminist. Maybe that's what it is. But you notice she don't have this kind of negativity towards any other company. It's all towards this one. And again, if you go to this lady's page, there is no negative videos about anything from any other company other than Xbox. And maybe it's because a lot of her followers are a bunch of little corny Nintendo, Sony fangirls, right? They're guys, but they're, girls in a way. And so she'll never talk shit because she's probably afraid of losing viewership. She feeds her little corny fan base with this garbage.
Every new Call of Duty was the same recycled formula with a new coat of paint.
It's me, Mario Kart 19.
Released annually to guarantee another wave of pre-orders and microtransactions. Essentially, Activision.
You got Super Mario. Super Mario. Let's see this. Let's zoom in. Give me this. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Where the hell's my zoom? I gotta show. She's so full of crap. She is so full of it. Let's look at all these great games. Oh, Super Mario 8. Super Mario Kart 8. Oh, she got a YouTube plaque for her garbage hot takes. Of course, right? Trash hot takes. Trash. You guys need a better standard of a gaming influencer, all right? Right, bunch of Nintendo video games, a company that charges 30%. Super duper greedy, right, guys? Mario, there you go. Mario Galaxy 2, a bunch of Wii games. She loves a Nintendo. I love Nintendo. Right? But I hate the Xbox. Why? Because they're greedy and they're not creative. Even though they're way more creative than Nintendo. They really are. 1 second.
Chess was not a creative powerhouse, but a content factory engineered to drain wallets. After the acquisition...
It's me, Mario. I am not here to drain wallets. I am high art. Give me $70 for Mario Galaxy. Yay!
Fallout was as brutal as it was predictable. Tango Gameworks
$80
shuttered despite Hi-Fi Rush being one of Xbox's few universally praised hits.
So now she's crying about Hi-Fi Rush, right?
Fallout was as brutal as it...
You got to keep in mind, they actually created an original content, right? Original franchise. At least they gave it a try. It was a flop. It didn't sell, okay? It didn't sell, which sucks, because I think the game is beautiful. It's a great-looking game. But you got to give it to Xbox. They actually put in the money to create an original franchise. Did Nintendo do this? No, they didn't.
Was predictable. Tango Gameworks shuttered despite Hi-Fi Rush being one of Xbox's few universally praised hits. Arcane Austin closed after Redfall stumbled. The initiative dissolved and took the Perfect Dark reboot with it.
Look at all these different fucking franchises they're investing into. Now, these investments didn't work out. These guys were taking too long. They were hemorrhaging money. So a lot of these projects got shut down, okay? Some of these projects failed, but at least they put them out there. Those games exist, okay? If this was Nintendo, that would be fucking Super Mario in Perfect Dark. That would be Super Mario in the other game, but I'm joking because Nintendo would never invest the money to create some shit that looks like what you see on your screen right now. They would never do that because they're a bunch of cheap, penny-pinching, cowardly developers in many ways. Not developers. As a company, they do not invest big money into gaming. They don't. They always go for the safe route. It's always the safe route. So for her to come out and say, call these guys cowards and then call Nintendo hot shit is just retarded. It's disgusting because those guys really are not risk takers. They never have been. Okay? They never have been. They put out that Nintendo Wii. That shit was overpriced. Okay? They sold it on a gimmick. I liked it in some ways, but it was sold on a gimmick. Okay? And all the games they put on there were not high budget titles. These guys don't make big acquisitions. They take almost no risk. Okay?
And those are just the names that we know. Behind the scenes.
Yes, the many, many, many projects they invested tons of money into, okay? Those are just some of the many original IPs they were attempting to create. Now show me some of the ones Nintendo and Sony was creating, okay? Because they're really not investing money into gaming the way that Xbox is.
Countless smaller projects were binned before they even saw daylight, not because they were bad, but because they wouldn't make money fast enough. And in trying to mimic Activision's margins, Microsoft adopted Activision's mentality: safety over imagination, profit over passion, conformity over creativity. That same obsession
It's
with
a bunch of mouth sounds, no proof. She showed no proof of this. If anything, she actually proved the opposite. That they're investing into many projects, many IPs, doing things that the competition is not doing.
unsustainable growth led straight into Microsoft's proudest experiment, Game Pass. When it first launched, it was sold as the Netflix of gaming, a revolutionary way to make hundreds of titles instantly accessible for a...
Yeah, people, we're just analyzing this video right now. I'm going to put on some music, read some of the comments. Give me a second. All right. It's fucking hilarious because Nintendo was always about the gaming, in quotations, not the performance. They were always third place in terms of performance, laugh out loud. Not always. They weren't always third place. In the GameCube generation, they actually had the second most powerful console under the Xbox. The PlayStation 2 had won that generation in sales, but the Xbox was the king when it comes to basically the advancements. The Xbox came out, they were the first system that allowed you to like download demos, and like they had like a unified structure when it comes to like your profile. They had Xbox Live where you had this profile that would go game to game. Their online infrastructure was on another level. None of these guys were like that, and they had that hard drive built in there. They had the Ethernet already in the system. Sony didn't have that. Nintendo didn't have online really back then at all. They didn't even have online really. I think they added it in later somehow. They were just way ahead, but they lost that generation. But the GameCube was actually more powerful than the PlayStation 2. It was. And so Nintendo didn't do well that generation, so they went back to their ways of producing low quality hardware for high prices. That's what Nintendo does. They give you a low quality product for a high price, and that's how they make their money. Nintendo never loses money on hardware. That's one of their saving graces. They don't take risks the way the Xbox and Sony does. Like Sony in that same generation as the Wii put out a console that was incredibly expensive. That thing cost like $900 to put together, and they sold it for $600. Okay, they lost money, a lot of money. Xbox put out their console as well, which was a loss, but they made it back in software sales.
Modest monthly fee. For a brief shining moment, it looked like the future. Subscriber numbers soared, journalists hailed it as the industry's next great innovation, and Microsoft paraded it as proof that they were leading gaming's evolution. But by mid-2025, the illusion shattered. Game Pass flatlined at around 35 to 37 million users, a far cry from the
It flatlined. It's just ridiculous. It flatlined.
Ludicrous 110 million target set for 2030.
It's so ridiculous they set a target for 2030. Okay. Who's to say they won't reach that target? Who says that? Who knows? They probably will reach that target, right?
With growth slowing to a pitiful...
People, Game Pass is just another option. That's what the Xbox has. Loads and loads of options. What's wrong with options? You know, you go on the PlayStation or on Nintendo, you can't get Mario Galaxy and no Game Pass kind of structure in there. They're trying to charge you $70. They're like, take it or leave it. That's it. We're not going to upgrade your fucking Wii game because that would be too good. That would be what the Xbox does. Because people, you know, you can actually pop OG Xbox games or 360 games or Xbox One games into your Xbox Series X, and they literally get free upgrades. Okay? I could pop Conquer in there right now in my Xbox, an OG Xbox game into my new Xbox Series X, and it gets a HDR and 4K upgrade for free. All right? I put Splinter Cell in there from the OG Xbox. It gets a 4K HDR upgrade for free. And there's loads of games like that. What does Nintendo do? Obviously, it's a console that does not have a disc drive in there, right? And that's probably by design. That's so that they don't have to do features like put your disc in there and now it's upgraded. They don't do that. They're just going to charge you $70 for a garbage upgrade. But they're not greedy at all. Let's just harp on how much the Xbox is a piece of shit, even though they've done the most pro-consumer stuff in the entire console space. Period. There's no other company that's given you the kind of value that these guys have done and the kind of respect, okay? They're not doing what Sony does, where they put a fucking Uncharted collection out there and they remove all the online, okay? They're not doing that. I remember GameStop.com, I think it's GameSpot.com, years ago, when Master Chief Collection came out, they shit all over it. They gave it a 6.0 and said, oh, well, the online's not perfect day one. But then they give Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, right? They give that collection an 8.0. And keep in mind, that collection, they pulled out almost every feature that was in the other versions of it. They took the 3D feature out, they took the co-op out, and they took out the fucking online. And I love the online for Uncharted 2. They took it out of that title. And they still gave that piece of shit an 80. A score, and they gave it an 80 score, but then they shit on Halo, which gave you like 4 titles, all remastered with online. Nah, not enough. The online's not perfect. 6.0. And that's great. That's how these guys go. And I don't know, people. I feel like the shit is corrupt. Like in some ways, the shit is getting paid for by some companies. Maybe Sony. Maybe I don't know. It just seems real skewed towards respecting companies that are the ones ripping you off the most.
A trickle of barely 1 million new sign-ups in 18 months. And instead of asking why the momentum had died, Microsoft did what bloated corporations always do. They doubled down. Prices for...
There you go. They got some balls, right? They're like, well, it's not working right away. Let's just keep investing and hope for the best. Yeah, bloated corporations. They're bloated garbage. Let's play Super Mario Galaxy with DRM at $70.
Game Pass Ultimate surged by 50% to an eye-watering...
Ninja Gaiden day one with your Game Pass subscription. Is Sony going to get you that? No, they're not. They're not going to get you that shit. You want to know why? Because they got to pay that developer to get that shit on their garbage service, which, for real, is trash. And they have the nerve to charge $20 for that turd.
£29.99 a month, while former exclusives like Halo, Gears of War and Forza Horizon 5 began quietly appearing on PlayStation in a desperate attempt...
Look at how fake this lady is. Quietly, they literally put out press reports. They did a conference and showed it on the PlayStation. They did a conference. They have that on their Xbox YouTube page. They put that out there. There's no quietly... That was in the release they did when they did that presentation of Halo. The same day. This thing's just full of crap, people. It just really is. Go quietly put it out. You know, I want to know what's funny? A few days ago, Sony straight out said that these PlayStation games are going to be on the next Xbox. Okay? So none of this shit's going to be exclusive in the future. They're all doing this now. But except for Nintendo.
To plug the financial hole. The warning signs had been there for years. Rafael Colantonio, founder of Arcane Studios, called Game Pass an unsustainable model that has been increasingly damaging the industry for a decade. And he was right. Microsoft's so-called infinite money had only...
It's called pro-consumer. That's what it is. It's pro-consumer. It gives you another option to play these titles. Because outside of this, you'd have to look for rental places if they still exist. It'd either be that or purchasing them at full price. Okay? So they made it a little more convenient and they put it on there. It's an option. You don't have to use it, but it's there, which is nice. That's nice to have options.
therefore postponed the inevitable reckoning. Larian's publishing director, Michael Dowse, warned of the inevitable, that the endless flow of Microsoft spending couldn't last forever, and when it finally stopped, the entire illusion would collapse. And now
it's all negative. That's why I just despise these kind of creators. That's why I don't really watch a lot of gaming shit on YouTube. It's all fucking negative. It's disgusting. It's fucking hideous. All that Nintendo shit behind her back, and she's talking all this shit about Xbox. I told you guys, no videos about Nintendo. None. No negative videos at all. Maybe because she thinks Nintendo will pull her shit down or won't give her free shit. Okay? Okay, give me 1 second. Only because PS2 was old ASF. I mean, people, the Xbox, the OG Xbox was amazing. That thing still stands up even today. I played Conquer the other day. I'm like, wow. Like, this game looks really good. Even by today's standards, that thing looked crazy. All right, otherwise it would have been the third place. The OG Xbox actually was the second. They were in second place in that generation. They actually beat Nintendo on their first try. All right, and people think it's funny. They keep hoping and praying for the downfall of Xbox. People, don't be shocked if Xbox takes the market in the next generation. It's been shown throughout gaming history that the tides change real fast. For example, first generation Xbox, they already beat Nintendo. Nintendo was the market leader for over a decade. Over a decade, they were the market leader. Then the Xbox, first generation, they come in, boom, they topple the market leader. And then the generation before that, the PlayStation 1 N64 generation, PlayStation came in. Their first console, they toppled Nintendo. They were the market leader in their first try. All right, this shows you this shit can change real fast. So it was Nintendo was the market leader for 2 generations. PlayStation came in, they were the market leader. Xbox comes in, they take the place of Nintendo. They become second place. And then the next generation with the Xbox 360, the Xbox take a larger share of the market. They actually sold more than Sony in most of the world. They beat Sony. All right. The only market that Xbox didn't beat Sony was in Japan, which they never had a hold in Japan. Maybe because of software, maybe because of the culture. They're an American company. There can be many factors there, but they could never get a foothold in Japan. So that's the only reason Sony in the very end was able to outsell the Xbox 360. But Xbox had taken more territory. They had more territory. Sony just got a larger share in Japan. Now you have this next generation. Now you had these last 2 generations. You had Sony taking the PS4 and this current generation. But that can change. That can change in the next year or so, 2 years. And I think that's what Xbox is investing towards with all these acquisitions. And they're disrupting the market with this hybrid console. The point is to break down all the barriers of consoles. And this is a very bad thing for Nintendo and Sony, because what this does in many ways is this kind of removes the royalties, right? They're not going to be able to make as much money on these royalties anymore. This is what Sony and Nintendo live by, are these royalties. So they're going to open the market. You're going to be able to buy these games everywhere, right? And so for Xbox, they've invested so much in software that they're going to be able to be just fine in the gaming market because they have so much to sell there, right? So much software to make money from. These guys make most of their money in licensing fees. You got to remember that, people. This is where Nintendo and Sony make all their money. So for Xbox to come in there and just disrupt that market in that way, that's going to cause them big problems, okay? So the next generation, what I predict, it's going to be about software development, and which is great for gamers, right? You want to get games. These guys are going to be forced to make more games in order to make money, because right now, again, they can live off of royalties, which is disgusting. It's very lazy. This is why Nintendo and Sony can live on making almost nothing. These guys make almost no software. They don't invest. They don't invest in game development. They just steal from these developers on their platform. They make a platform, they advertise it, and they just take all the money from the devs, who aren't even their devs. These are third parties. Xbox has invested heavily in their own in-house development. They're gonna talk all this shit, this lady calling them cowards, but they own Activision. That's a lot of software. And that's just one of the many companies they've already purchased. Okay? You have a lot of software to sell. That's going to be a big problem for Sony and Nintendo because they're really not going to be able to live in this new market unless they really invest. So in a lot of ways, Xbox is actually ahead of the curve. They're already there. They were really intelligent. Now this is in a lot of ways what they're doing right now. The hybrid console is the checkmate moment. That's really what it is. You guys don't see it. That's checkmate. That's like, bro, we're going to disrupt the fuck out of you guys. We're disrupting the market. We're tearing down the walls of consoles. It's not about consoles. These games are going to be on everything. So when you buy a game on the Xbox, that goes everywhere. That's going all over the place. You buy it from Steam or whatever, you're going to be playing that everywhere. So you're going to buy a game on the Xbox and you're going to be able to play it on your PC because they're interchangeable. They're the same thing, right? So that's a big thing. And then you can play that same game on your Ally X or your Steam Deck, and it just goes on and on. You know, it's all Xbox everywhere. And so these guys are going to have to grow with the times, or they're going to drown. I think they are because so yeah, once again, just to, cut the story short, the next generation is about services and software. And the Xbox got both those in their bucket. But Sony and Nintendo don't. They really don't. And I also heard that Xbox is going to be dropping the paywall for online multiplayer. If they do that, once again, that's going to disrupt the market in a big way, and that's going to pull billions of dollars possibly out of Sony's pocket. They're coming in, people. This is aggressive, and people don't know how much they're going to screw these guys up. And I'm totally okay with it because actually, in many ways, this is going to be a positive for the gamer. This is all pro-consumer. The only guys that are going to be hurt by this are the big guys, Nintendo and Sony, right? Because they're disrupting this market in a big way.
Now, that moment has arrived. Once Amy Hood's 30% profit demand kicked in, the subsidy...
Yes, PC seems the best. Yeah, man, the PC is an open platform, and that's what the new Xbox is. I currently have the Xbox Ally here, and it's a pretty incredible console. It's people want to say, oh, it's not an Xbox. Yes, it's an Xbox. It is. It has Xbox games. Those are Xbox games, okay? That's what they are. There's people trying to downplay it. Well, if that's not they say, oh, it's a Windows handheld. Well, if that's a Windows handheld, then Steam Deck ain't a Steam Deck. It's a Linux box. I don't know. It's just so stupid, the stuff people say.
That made Game Pass viable vanished overnight. Publishers realised that day one releases were gutting full price sales. Indie developers already
Sorry about that.
Hanging in by a thread could no longer afford the discounted payouts. What was once pitched as a democratization of gaming became a trap, a system that devoured creativity to appease shareholders. Microsoft's greatest innovation became its biggest liability, all because executives refused to accept that art cannot be squeezed into a quarterly spreadsheet. And if you want proof of where their priorities truly lie,
again, people, she just talks shit all day about anything Xbox. But what is, so you're saying Super Mario is high art, right? That's art. Super Mario's art. And I know it is art, but I wouldn't put it on the same level as like Gears of War or even this Call of Duty thing. I mean, that's a product. So I don't understand this argument here. She's acting like this shit is like super high art and it's got a profound message. Okay.
No further than one number, $80 billion. That's how much Microsoft spent on AI infrastructure in 2025 alone. The same year, they laid off over 15,000 employees, including hundreds of developers from Xbox's most celebrated studios. Not because of financial losses, but because, according to Bloomberg and the Seattle Times, the company was realigning. Corporate doublespeak for funneling salaries into server farms. It's poetic in the most grotesque way imaginable. Billions are being poured into cold humming data centers, warehouses filled with machines designed to replace the very artists, coders and storytellers who once gave Microsoft its soul. While the people who built worlds for players are being cast aside as inefficiencies, the future of the company is now being written by algorithms. The human heart of gaming is being traded for circuitry, and the message from Microsoft could not be clearer. Creativity.
I would like to see her show me examples of this. of these things she's saying. She's saying all this shit about they're not creative and all that. And like I said earlier, in many ways, she's just showing me the opposite of what she's saying. She showed all these different titles in this video, loads of IPs. And so they're spending loads of money for these IPs, yet the competition doesn't do anything near to this when it comes to investment in gaming. So why are you harping on this company and not the other ones? That's really what I want to understand. What I want to know, why are you harping on this company and none of the other ones? Why don't you just put this all into perspective and look at all three of the big guys together? She doesn't do that. I do. Because, because I guess we're not fake like these other people. I don't know what's up with these other gaming channels on YouTube and on social media, but these motherfuckers, I just think they're fake as hell. I don't know what's going on. Do you get deals? They're giving you some money under the table because you got a big gaming channel, so you just spew all this bullshit? All this kind of like, we have to hate this company, right? Why aren't you even with all this and really showing the whole picture instead of just blaming this company for everything?
Isn't profitable, and passion isn't scalable.
Yeah, there's no passion in the Call of Duty shit. None of that. Or any of these games these guys make, right?
Satya Nadella loves to boast about ushering in what he calls the AI first era, proudly painting Microsoft as the vanguard of artificial intelligence. But the hypocrisy could not be.
She goes all over the place in this video, and she starts talking about AI. Now she blames that on them as well. You got to keep in mind the whole industry is going towards AI. AI, believe it or not,
Copilot? You see my portfolio?
is incredibly cheap, right? It costs money to have 3D modelers come in there and work for hours on creating these 3D models. It's a lot easier to just kind of talk it into an AI or whatever, right? And have that 3D model made in minutes. Give me 1 second, people. Got this stupid bar on the bottom of my screen. I got to get rid of that. This is annoying. This happens every time because Windows, I guess it doesn't save its settings and it keeps putting the same stupid bars back on the screen. It's really irritating. All right, so we're going to show this guy over here. He's doing a 3D model, okay? And he does it, I think, in less than a minute.
A 3D model. It's just an AI image. Let's fix that. Step 1. Upload the image to something like Rodin or CSM or Trellis. I have a tutorial.
And I've read Nintendo was taught that she starts pointing all this AI stuff towards Xbox, right? And saying that, oh, they're doing all this stuff and they're using AI to make models and so on, replacing jobs with AI. But you have to understand that every job is affected by AI. That's what's happening right now. Everything. It isn't just gaming. And these guys aren't the only ones doing this. They're all doing this. But they're the ones that get the blame for it. I don't agree with it. I don't think this AI is right at all. But guess what? Sony's doing this. Nintendo's doing it. But they come out and lie and say, we would never replace human labor with AI. It's like, give me a fucking break. You guys are so full of it. If they can go and they can make hundreds of millions of dollars more every single year by cutting 3D modeling jobs because the AI does it faster, right? And cheaper, they're going to do that every time. Don't trick yourself into thinking that this business here would not do that in an instant. And they're going to do it.
Export the result as GLB. Import it in Blender. As you can see, it isn't game ready. So let's fix it. Turn on snapping. Face project. Create a cube. Enter edit mode. Merge at center. Move the vertex in place. Now go to modifiers. Add modifier. Shrink wrap. Set the
So Ryan does, initially what he does is he takes this AI model, right? This is a model he created in AI. Puts it in the program. He makes a couple of adjustments and boom, it's done. And this guy made this model. You see the video? It's 46 seconds long. So he made this model fairly quick. A lot of times when they make these 3D models, it can take a long time. I think sometimes it could take like days to make a model. Now they're making these models within minutes.
Vertex in place. Now go to modifiers. Add modifier. Shrink wrap. Set the target to the dog. Add another modifier. Mirror. Set the mirror object to the dog. Then click this icon. Turn on retopology shading. Now start extruding the vertices and cover the entire model. Now for shading. Let me cut out the eye. Create 3 materials and assign them to the faces. Wow. Let's put it in a game. Export it as FBX. Open it in Unity. I'll open it.
All right, so Sony are too greedy. Nintendo are too greedy. Xbox give you more for nothing equals updates on hundreds of titles. Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, that's just some of the stuff. You know, they like I said it earlier, they gave me a free copy of Gears of War Reloaded. What other company's going to do that? None of these guys do that. If that was Nintendo, they would have said, oh, you want Gears of War Reloaded, give us $70. That's what they would have done. You know, look, they put out that Mario shit. They're charging you $70 for that. It's got DRM on it. These guys, they sent me a code and said, here you go. Here's Gears of War Reloaded. Enjoy. I never got that kind of treatment from any other company other than Xbox. I remember the time I got the Xbox 360 and the thing crapped out. You know what these guys did? They gave me free repairs for 3 years. When I had a PS3 and the thing crapped out after like a year, it got what they called the yellow light of death. You know what Sony did? They said, give us $150 and we'll fix it for you. This was a known issue where the PlayStation 3s would overheat. And Sony said, here, take this middle finger and go fuck yourself. Give us money. The Xbox, they said, here you go. Here's 3 years of free repairs. Anytime that shit overheated, they sent me a box in the mail with a stamp on it or whatever. They had like a little, it was already listed where to send it. So all I had to do was put the system in the box and send it. And it would come back free of charge. I didn't have to pay for any kind of shipment. It was all free. So when this system, and they knew this, they knew, our system's crapping out. It's fucked up. And so they didn't put the burden on me. It sucks that, I had a system that did that. But every time it would happen, I would put it in a box. I would tell them, bro, the thing crapped out again. And so they would go and I'd put it in a box and they send me another one. And then not only did they send me another one, but every time they sent it to me, it would have an Xbox Live subscription for like 3 months. Every time they sent it back, they would give me that as well. So it was a free repair and some Xbox Live. Like no other company I dealt with that ever did that, ever.
Demo scene from LMH Poly. Adjust the lighting and post-processing, and there you have it. Game ready 3D. This part was still pretty time-consuming. It took me 20 minutes, but don't worry. I'm working on
time-consuming 20 minutes. You see, people? This is way fast.
Blender AI plugin. It'll make
this is going to limit the amount of workers they're going to have at these companies, for sure. And so again, you think Sony and Nintendo aren't going to be investing in this? They are. But this woman in this video is going to be pointing the finger at Xbox and saying you're super evil and you're invested in AI. And the truth is that they're all invested in this shit. I'm not okay with it. We've been talking about it for a while, about how this stuff is going to hurt human labor. This is going to make a lot of people lose their jobs. But this is the way the industry's going. So if you're going to frame your video and go this route, then you need to start pointing your finger at everyone. At everyone. You don't just point at this one company.
More blatant. In its blind scramble to build machines capable of simulating creativity, Microsoft has gutted the real thing. It's a very cruel irony, really. They're pouring billions into teaching algorithms how to think like artists, while firing the actual artists who made their company matter in the first place. Every designer, every coder, every artist Microsoft has cast aside represents a story that will now never be told, a world that will never exist, a sequel that will never come to bloody life. In chasing a future built on machine learning, Microsoft has shown us exactly what it values. Not the dreamers who make games, but the systems that will one day attempt to replace them. And
I'll tell you this, people, Xbox actually has this thing called dev mode. It allows you to turn any Xbox into a dev unit that you could develop games on for the Xbox. They've been doing this since the days of the Xbox 360, 20 years ago. They were the only company doing it. They created tools for indie developers. They were one of the first companies to ever have, and I think they might have actually been the first console company that had loads of indie developed games. There's so many of them, I couldn't even tell you how many there are. They had that Xbox 360 when they came out. They were big on indie development, and they put the tools. Right now in the Xbox Series X, they used to have a software called Dev Mode that was $20. Now that same software, you know how much it costs? I think I just said it. It's free. Anybody that buys an Xbox Series X or S console can turn their Xbox into a dev unit for free. So for her to come in here and like they're anti-human and anti-developer and all, it's like all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Where's that? Hey, lady, if she can hear this, she watches this video. Where's that Sony and Nintendo developer mode for free? If they even have it. I don't even think they have that. I don't think you can convert a PlayStation 5 into a dev unit or a Switch, Nintendo Switch. You can only play games on it. On the Xbox, you can turn your system into a dev unit and make yourself a living on making video games. They welcome you into doing that. But you're going to be dishonest. And once again, either you're ignorant or you're full of shit.
if you want proof of the damage, just look at the numbers. Xbox's hardware revenue has plunged by 29%.
Well, that's what happens when you put your games on everything. Okay? I've spoke about this many times. This is going to happen to Sony as well in the next generation because from what I hear, they're going to start putting their software on other platforms day and day. Now, they're not going to put them on the Xbox. They might do it eventually. They probably will eventually because I predict that Sony's actually not going to be in the gaming industry for the long haul. Now, when it comes to hardware, I think at some point they're just going to become software developers because once Sony's profits dry out when it comes to licensing fees, they're done. They're done. These people do not understand. This company over here, Xbox, they have trillions of dollars in the bank. They can ride this shit till the wheels fall off. They're never going to fall off because they got so much damn money that it's not. They've always got money coming in, right? And they're not going to ride this till the wheels fall off, but they're gonna push this real hard. They're in here to take this market. And so you got Sony that's literally holding on because of their licensing fees. When it comes to software, once again, Sony is not investing heavily into software. They're not. They did with the PS3, but they haven't since the PS4. PS4 was a very weak generation for software, and the PS5 is even weaker. Okay? Xbox, they used to say Xbox doesn't have games. Now Xbox has loads of games, and they have companies. They've purchased many companies, and they're going to keep purchasing them. Okay? The next generation, once again, is not just about hardware. It's mostly about software and services. And the Xbox got them beat. And now, in the next gen, they're going to have Windows, which is heavy compatibility. And you got yourself an enormous category of gaming going into that unit. You got all kinds of stuff. You're going to have all these PC games, all these Xbox games, so much stuff. And with this new architecture, they're probably going to be able to do really, really sophisticated emulation. So don't be shocked if you can play all your OG Xbox games, your Xbox 360 games, and so on. The emulation's not going to be very hard to do. And I hear this next Xbox is going to be a monster in performance.
2 consecutive.
You're talking about a high-end gaming PC. It ain't just a console anymore. It's a high-end gaming PC, the next one. And since a lot of this is about the ecosystem, you can just buy whatever. You're going to get what they call the Xbox experience, big picture, something like that. It's like Steam big picture mode. So you can go buy they're going to put out a box. They say it's very powerful, but you're going to be able to just buy a PC and just put this Xbox experience into it. And there you go. Boom. That's an Xbox. Okay.
Years. Consoles sit gathering dust. Software sales have flatlined, and consumer faith in Xbox.
This is also the normal progression of consoles, people. It's been I think it's going on almost 6 years. This is what happens. So, hardware stops selling. That's what it is. PlayStation's selling well. I don't know why, but it's all slowing down. This is what happens.
As a platform is evaporating faster than ever. What was once a household name for innovation is now a brand people associate with cancellations, layoffs, and broken promises.
Broken promises. It's just so ridiculous. The guy's got so much software. It's crazy.
Microsoft's answer to wave the
They just got the new Call of Duties coming out in a couple of weeks. What's Sony putting out? She doesn't understand that this is all Xbox. They're footing the bill for this. They're coming in there. They're working with these devs and all that. Like, they got all kinds of software. This is a well-oiled machine. And they're just putting stuff out constantly.
Flag and call it strategy. The company's new multi-platform push, releasing former exclusives on PlayStation, is Surrender dressed up as progress.
You see this shit? They see this is ridiculous. Surrender. They've been saying for years that it's Xbox everywhere. They're done with just keeping it in one box. It's now going everywhere. That's it. All right? And then you're going to get all these deals when you got the console and so on. You know, that's going to make it, they're going to have the subsidies in the box. So you're going to get this very high-end, I guess in some ways some people would call it a PC. It's going to be a high-end PC with a very streamlined experience. That's what you're going to get with the next Xbox. She calls it Surrender. It's just so disgusting. That's all framed in the negative. And again, what's funny is that Sony recently came out in the last couple of days and they say that Xbox is going to have their games. The Xbox is going to have the PlayStation games, all of them. All the ones they put on PC. Sony's going multi-platform. This lady's, she's Again, I got to say it like a million times. She's being very dishonest. That's what she's doing. Oh, that is surrender. So is Sony surrendering? I mean, last time I checked, I think they're the market leader right now, Sony, and they're still putting all their games on everything. It's all going to PC. And if it's going to PC, guess where else it's going? It's going to Xbox. So the next Xbox console, you're going to be playing God of War on your TV, on your Xbox, okay? That's a fact. I'm doing it right now on my Xbox Ally X. I'm playing God of War, Uncharted, all of it, Horizon Zero Dawn. It's all on the Xbox right now.
Xbox President Sarah Bond insists it's a reflection of where the players are, but the truth is much simpler. There aren't enough players left. After all, you can't sell
You can't sell a console. It's hard to sell a console when your games are everywhere. And this is probably, they knew this was happening. Another thing is, again, all this negativity like this lady's spewing, that hurts their marketability. When it's cool to hate Xbox, that's how you don't sell consoles. This kind of negativity for the sake of being negative makes it where it's not cool to own an Xbox. I don't want one of those. Why not? Because it's Xbox. Well, what's wrong with Xbox? Well, it's not cool. Why isn't it cool? Because people said so.
exclusives when no one's buying the hardware. And while this unfolds, Microsoft has the
They're already moving their exclusives before all this shit. It's just ridiculous. And again, the hardware is great. Believe it or not, the Xbox Series X is actually more powerful than the baseline PlayStation 5. Most people who own a PlayStation 5 own the OG one, the first one that came out. And the Xbox is more powerful than that one. All right? So if you like powerful consoles, then that's the one to get, the Xbox. Ones that have flexibility, and that's the Xbox. You know, the company that actually doesn't take a big shit on you, that's the Xbox. They're not charging upgrade fees, okay? They're actually giving you upgrades, and they're giving you value. They're giving you reasons why you would want to own the thing, okay? Look at this. You're looking at Halo Infinite here. Oh, where there's a first-person shooter, a first-party game created by Xbox, right? Where's Sony's first-person shooter that they created? Where's Killzone, Sony? Oh, we didn't get one. What did we get? Horizon Remaster, right? We got a bunch of third-person action games starring female leads for a predominantly male audience. I mean, I like Tomb Raider, but I mean, come on. Where's the games that you have male leads? Is that a problem?
to raise developer kit prices by a third, from $1,500 to $2,000. It's pocket change to mega publishers, but for mid-tier and indie studios, that's a death sentence. These are the developers who take creative risks, who make the kinds of games that remind us why we fell in love with this medium, and now they're being priced out of existence. Microsoft's message is loud and clear. If you're not guaranteed a profit, you don't belong. The company that once promised to empower...
Yeah, it's all full of shit. Look at this over here. Sony being sued. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this shit again. Over here. I'm going to read it. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it over here. All right. So it's allegations. This is a lawsuit that's being filed against Sony. All right. It says on behalf of 1.7 million Dutch PlayStation users, the organization claims that Sony has abused its dominant position in the console market for over a decade, particularly with the rise of digital sales and digital-only consoles. Disgusting. People, those digital-only consoles are destroying small business, completely eliminating them. Here's the allegations. The lawsuit accuses Sony of imposing a so-called Sony tax, which refers to the significantly high price consumers pay for digital games compared to physical copies. Research sites cited in the lawsuit indicates the consumers pay on average 47% more for digital versions of games, despite lower distribution costs for Sony. Isn't that crazy, people? They're spending 47% more on digital. And keep in mind, in digital, there's no overhead there. There's not a store like a GameStop holding merchandise or any of this, right? There's no operation costs outside of you having, I don't know, data centers. Like, they make 100% of that money. So why are you charging a 47% upcharge? I mean, they're just making more money now. Like, this is what you call abuse. And this is why I told people, this is why you shouldn't allow these companies to bring in You know,
Our
all
creators has
all
turned
this
it-
digital shit. They want everything to be digital. That's not a good thing, because when you give these guys all this power, they're only going to screw you over. Okay.
It's back on them. And if that doesn't make you angry, it really should. This
All right, let's hear it again. It should make us real angry. I think people should have been really angry when these companies literally brought in DRM and took away your ability to own the software that you have. I don't know if you guys know this, but all the software, if you buy consoles or even on PC, if you're buying these games, those games literally are not your ownership. You don't own those games. Even those physical copies, if they do not get connected to the internet at some point, you cannot access that material. So you go out and you spend $80, $70, $90 in the case of Nintendo games, and you don't own them. So if you don't have an internet connection, you have pay your internet service provider, which many times can be over $50. For us, we spend over $100 a month on our internet. And that, imagine this, I go and I spend $80 or $90 on a video game, and then our internet's out, or we couldn't pay the internet this month, for whatever reason. And now I can't access the games I spent $90 on. Now, no one's angry about that. That's what people should really be angry about. Not a $10 increase on a tiered service that offers you a huge value. That's not what people should be pissed about. They should be pissed about the fact that Nintendo was selling a $70 a game, a Wii game from 20 years ago for $70, and they've added nothing to it except DRM. Okay? DRM, which means you don't own it. So I tell you, when it comes to that, just go out and buy, if you like Super Mario and you want Mario Galaxy, just go buy a physical copy of it. It's like $14. You can buy it online for even cheaper. You can find it at flea market. Once you own that physical copy of that game, that's fair use when it comes to emulating that title. So if you own a physical copy of that game, there's no reason why you can't go online and now download Mario Galaxy and load it into an emulator and play it at 4K. Right? You can do that. I do that right now, people, on a little console called the Xbox Series X. Guess what? On that dev mode, you can run third-party software, and I have loads of emulators on there, and I play Mario Galaxy at 5K on there, okay? 5K. And I didn't have to pay Nintendo, again, a single red cent.
creators has turned its back on them. And if that doesn't make you angry, it really should. This is how a death spiral starts. Fewer consoles in homes means fewer developers willing to take the risk of investing in the platform. Fewer developers means fewer games worth buying a console for. Fewer games means even lower hardware sales, and
what's this fewer games? What's she talking about? This platform got more games than Nintendo, probably more games than Nintendo and Sony combined. Okay? They're putting out game after game after game. What the hell is Nintendo putting out? That shit, that system they just came out with, that Switch shit that came out how many months ago? And what did they got on there? Mario Galaxy re-release, $70. And then they got what else? Mario Kart? What do they got on that thing? I don't think they have anything. They just put out Chronos. Look, I'll show you right now. Look at this. This is another big ass ripoff.
Are you looking for?
Wait, give me 1 second, people. It's in commercial. 1 second. 1 second. We're gonna let this go by. Monetize, huh? Anybody that's new over here, remember to subscribe to the Real Food TV. You're watching the live analysis of this very amazing gaming influencer on YouTube. All right, you're watching it live on Food Gaming Live. It's live, super live. Remember to subscribe. And if you want to donate to the Real Food TV, our Venmo's in the description of every video on the channel. It's really helpful, people. The platform will not allow us to become monetized. Just a fact. All right, so here you go. You got the game Chronos, which just came out recently on PC, Xbox, Switch, and Switch. Did I say PS5? I think I did. So it's on PS5. They're doing a comparison here. And you want to keep in mind, people, this title here actually cost, I think on some storefronts, it actually costs less on the PlayStation than on the Switch. Right? Less. Look, right now it's being sold for $47 on Amazon. Chronos PS5. The superior version of it when it comes to consoles are on the PC. Well, consoles it's the Xbox and the PlayStation. Nintendo has the nerve to actually charge more for this title than the PlayStation version. Let's see just a little bit of this. It's that great company that loves everyone so much. All right, so we'll see that real quick. I'm going to go back. I think that jumped to the wrong spot. 1 second. All right, here's the comparison. There you see there, PlayStation 5. It's upscaled. I don't know why they're not showing the Xbox here. It's kind of shitty. Okay, so we got one. Is that upscaled? Performance mode from Okay, so that's upscaled as well. These two resolutions, that's upscaled. You got this one over here on the Nintendo. That one is upscaled 1080p, right? Look at that low, very, very low resolution there. And then they bring it up. It's 30 frames, right? This other one's 30 frames, but it's a higher resolution, right? I think that's true 4K. Oh, that's from 1080p. What the F? They're bringing it up from 1080p to 4K. That's weird. Anyway, the game on the Switch is 30 frames per second, yet they're charging the same exact price as the PlayStation version. And look, obviously you can see the detail is also lower on that Switch 2. Got to keep in mind that Switch 2 is very close in price to that PlayStation 5. It doesn't look terrible on the Switch, but it's missing tons of detail. The rocks, textures, the fog, it's missing details, and still they have the nerve to charge the same price. Look at that. It's missing like almost all the lighting data. It's missing the fog effects. It's missing a lot. Again, they charge all that money for that. They're charging you the equal price or more for an inferior product, right? We're going to go back to analyzing this lady.
Whole thing feeds on itself until the ecosystem simply collapses. Every desperate attempt to protect short-term profit margins only speeds up the rot. And while those numbers slide further into the red, the human cost continues to pile up. Since early 2024, over 15.
All right, link me in. We'll be getting whatever the next Xbox console is as well. This is El Barbarino there. All right, we have the Ally, and it's great. Food TV is making me think of getting the new Xbox. Yeah, it's looking really impressive, man. Team Bob, indeed. Right?
1,000 people.
Oh, shit. Sorry, guys. Hopefully I didn't clip out of that video. We're going to commercial again. 1 second. All right, I hope I didn't clip over this. I'm going to go back just slightly. She's just going harp on how the Xbox is trash, yet they're the only ones building software and investing, okay? They really are.
Over 15,000 people across Microsoft have lost their jobs. Thousands.
And it isn't just them, and also you got to keep in mind they employ a lot of people. This is what happens in these big companies. It's not great, but you're going to see it everywhere because that AI's becoming bigger. It's everywhere. Loads of jobs are going to be lost. We've done some shows and we spoke about it. It's being predicted that millions of jobs are going to be lost over the next 10 years. There's going to be many, many, many jobs lost because of this artificial intelligence. These companies are trying to cut costs. That's what they're doing. They employ thousands of people. Many, many, many thousands. Look at that. She said 15,000. They employ a lot of people.
Of them being from the gaming division. Higher margin opportunities became the new euphemism for creative death. Entire studios were erased.
Creative death, and why would it be creative death? Why? Can you explain that?
Under that slogan, yet somehow, even as livelihoods vanished and beloved teams were disbanded, the public message from the top remained grotesquely upbeat. During the July 2025 layoffs, Phil Spencer sent out a company-wide memo insisting that our platform, hardware and game roadmap have never looked stronger. Imagine reading that after being told you no longer had a job, a PR line written for investors, delivered to the very people who built the games that made Xbox matter. The memo leaked within...
There are people being fired all over the place. That's what's happening. Again, they just spent $70 billion, okay? They're going to make cuts where they can. They want to make their money back and then make money after, because they got to make back this $70 billion, and then they want to start making profits. It's important when you spend $70 billion, right? So they're cutting a lot of their operating costs because this is a business and they're trying to stay in business. It's not cool. It sucks, but that's what happens in big business. especially when you're employing who knows how many people. I'm going to go look that up. But it wouldn't shock me if these guys have, who knows, 50,000 people, 100,000 people. They might actually be employing over 100,000 people. And that's a lot of fucking money to spend every year to pay that many people. Okay? One of the points is to stay afloat. Obviously, these guys got trillions of dollars, but they have to make strategic moves in order to make money, to make big money, make back their investments, and then some, and keep growing, and then fund these projects. It's a lot of their money.
In hours, and it became the perfect symbol of how utterly disconnected.
1 second, people. 1 second. Again, these guys, they take the blame for everything in the whole fucking world. All these guys are making cuts. It sucks, but it's happening, okay?
Xbox's leadership has become from the human beings holding the brand together. But the cruelty doesn't stop there. In the same financial year that saw tens of thousands thrown out of work, Satya Nadella's total compensation rose to $96.5 million, a 22% increase, the biggest of his entire tenure. That single pay rise could have paid the annual salaries of over...
All right, so I'm reading this little bit here from Google. It says, as of the latest report, Microsoft has laid off approximately 9,000 employees related to its Xbox division, which accounts for, hear this, 4% of its workforce. 4%. 9,000 people is 4%. So that actually isn't an enormous amount of employees being dropped, right? Yeah, it's a big number, 15,000. But with that number, 4%, it tells you how many people these guys employ. That's a lot of fucking people. That's at 15,000, it was only 4%. No, actually, this says 9,000. She said 15,000, but I don't think that's the real number. The real number, I think, is this 9,000. Okay? I mean, they're spread after laying off 15,000. This is what people are spreading around, this 15,000. But here, I'm going to see when this report came out, because the other one was from July. All right, so this is from the same month. These reports are from July. So these guys are saying 15, and this other one's saying 9. All right, Microsoft themselves, from their own mouth, says that they're laying off 9,000 workers. Okay, and they're all connected to the Xbox, and that's 4% of their workforce. Okay, so you guys got a lot of fucking employees.
100 developers, the people who actually make the products his company profits from. Instead, it went straight into the pockets of the scumbag presiding over the carnage. It's hard to think of a clearer portrait of corporate decay. Those at the top.
So they fired 15,000. So what? They just shoveled money into their pockets. I mean, again, these guys have an enormous overhead. It's crazy how much money they've invested into gaming. I'll just keep bringing it up. Call of Duty, Activision, $70 billion. And now they have to create software, and they've now brought on thousands and thousands and thousands more employees. So what they do after they do the acquisition is they look around and they start making cuts. There's certain people there that maybe their roles aren't really important to the company, that they're not a charity, they're a business, This is why you want to go into business for yourself. You want to make your own stuff, right? Because you're always expendable. You always are when you're working for someone else. If you're working for yourself, you're not.
Are rewarded for destruction, while those at the bottom pay the price for it. Every dismissal tears away.
They are the most evil company in the world. Sony would never fire an employee. No other company would ever fire anyone other than Microsoft and Xbox.
Another piece of institutional memory, another spark of creative brilliance, another fragment of what made those studios special. Microsoft no longer measures success by what it creates, but by how many people it can afford to lose. And gamers will feel every...
I was going to show you guys this earlier. Give me 1 second. Okay, this is the Chronos. I showed you this a second ago. Chronos right now is $47 on the PlayStation, okay? I got another bit of info. It's 47 right now. You go to the Nintendo Marketplace. All right. You go to Nintendo Marketplace. Look at this. That's what it costs right now, and that's digital, people. There's no overhead there. Nintendo charges these guys a fee for licensing, right? And they're charging more. It's $51, right, on the Nintendo Marketplace. So they're charging you more money for a lesser product, and that's not even a physical copy. That's a digital copy for it, right? A digital copy of it. In reality, it should be the other way around. The physical copy should cost more, right? Because there's more of an overhead there. But nope, they're going to charge you more than what Sony's charging for a physical copy. That's pretty crazy, and that shows you that they're just very shitty. They're a very shitty company.
Last consequence of it. This is about way more than just brand loyalty or a console war anymore. If Xbox continues down this path, PlayStation will be left standing alone in the traditional console market, and history tells us exactly what happens when one company holds all of the cards. Prices climb, innovation stall.
So what she's saying that what? Sony's gonna drive up the cost? It won't matter, bro. It won't matter. I'm telling you. Because when that hybrid console comes out, people start seeing they're playing all these games that you cannot play on the Nintendo or on the Sony console. People are gonna change their minds. Like for example, right now on my ROG Ally, I'm playing games like Syndicate, which doesn't exist on PlayStation. It's a really awesome first-person shooter. I'm playing Chronicles of Riddick, the Butcher Bay one, the remaster, Dark Athena. That's amazing. Those games are amazing, and those are games you're going to be able to play at 100, 200 frames per second on the next Xbox, and they won't run at all on the PlayStation. That's just two examples of some awesome, amazing games that just aren't on those other consoles, okay?
Risk disappears. Without real competition, even the best companies grow complacent, and the games that we love become safe, predictable, and lifeless. So what
sort of like Super Mario, but she calls Mario timeless classics. But then when you look, and they're milking them again. Super Mario Galaxy, it's out again, right? And talking about AI, here you go. Here's your AI. Sony's heavily invested in AI as well. Okay. They're all getting invested in AI. They used AI. They were testing it for what's it called? Horizon Zero Dawn. They're going to be using it to make 3D models. You know how many employees are going to be fired because of that? It says Sony is heavily invested in AI for video games, focusing on enhancing the creative process rather than replacing it. The company has already utilized AI in projects like Spider-Man 2. So they've already used it. Spider-Man 2 and has tested models using Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. All right, it says Sony's Enterprise LLM system, which began employment in 2023, has been used by over 50,000 employees across 210 teams, with more than 300 AI-related projects tested and over 50 now in regular operations. So over 300 AI-related projects. Wow, that's a lot, isn't it? It seems like. All right, so it says 50 now in regular operation. Okay. The company is also working closely with legal, privacy, and ethics experts to develop guidelines for responsible AI deployment. All right, Sony's AI initiative includes automating subtitle creation, okay, handling repetitive tasks like what? Creating 3D models, and improving games assets and picture quality. The company's investments are not limited to software, as they also announced the construction of a volumetric capture studio for characters and object model creation. Construction, I don't even know what that means. I'm trying to read this again, see if I can actually understand that system, as they are also announcing studios for creating an object. I guess what they're doing is they're replacing 3D model creators. What do you call them? 3D model artists with automation. Okay. So this is happening industry wide. For her to think they're not using AI through all this stuff is very foolish and ignorant. That's really what it is, or naive, because they're all going to be using this. This is what companies do. The bottom line is very important. It keeps them in business, right? The more money they have, the more capital, the more products they can put out. But one of the biggest disgusting things about this AI shit is they can put out lots more, but they're going to have less people. They don't need more people in order to put out more, because the AI is going to cover a lot of this.
What we are seeing isn't just the fall of Xbox, it's the slow, quiet suffocation of an entire
no breathing
medium. Worse still, Microsoft's obsession with 30% margins isn't staying confined to Xbox. It's spreading like a virus through the wider gaming industry. Other publishers are already watching, taking notes and preparing to mimic it. They'll see Xbox's temporary profit spikes not as the desperate flailings of a corporation in crisis, but as proof that ruthless efficiency.
Yeah, desperate flailings. They just purchased a $70 billion company and they have trillions of dollars in the bank. They're not desperate, okay?
Works. And that's when the real damage begins.
The guys have over $4 trillion in the bank. They can literally buy Nintendo and Sony and still have trillions more dollars left.
More sequels, more remakes, and fewer new ideas. Games will...
You see again how dishonest this woman is? Oh, more remakes, fewer new IPs. They're the only company putting out IP after IP after IP. It's Nintendo and Sony that don't bring out anything new. Then what if Sony put out this generation? But people got to really think about it. What did they put out? What does Nintendo put out? Nothing. These guys are putting out all kinds of Hi-Fi Rush, right? That's one of them. That's the Xbox put out. They put out loads of games, loads of new IPs, right? And then they're putting out Call of Duty, which is a new Call of Duty with a new script and hundreds of millions of dollars in production costs. Okay? That's a lot of investment. And that's a new Call of Duty. That is not a remaster. What Nintendo's doing are shitty, fake remasters. Okay? They literally put Mario on there. From what I hear, the thing runs at sub 60 frames and it's 4K. You know how they did that? By running an emulator. They ran an emulator on the system. And then they went and they had the nerve to put a GameCube thing on there. And they're charging people money for it. Right? And obviously they should. It's their IP. But they're acting like it's a big deal. Look, I play GameCube games on my Xbox. And they look perfect. Right? And that's fine. Because look, if I go and I buy those games, I should be able to play them on my Xbox or wherever the fuck I want to play them. Okay? Within copyright, that's okay. That's a legal thing to do. If you own that software, you should be able to play it on whatever the hell you want. Okay? I own it.
Crisis, but as proof that ruthless efficiency.
Well, what she's saying is very dishonest to say that all they're doing is making remasters or remakes, because that's not what Xbox does. They make original IPs. Right now, they're working on, yes, it's a remake of Halo 1, but the shit looks amazing. That's a true remake, right? They put in new cinematics, new sound, new graphics. They overhauled the entire game from the ground up. Now, that costs big money to do that. Again, we didn't see no Mario Galaxy remaster or remake. No, we didn't. Sony put out some shit. They didn't really remake that. You still look at that Last of Us thing they put out there? That Last of Us 2? This shit don't look any different from the PS4 game. It looks identical.
Works. And that's when the real damage begins. We'll get more sequels, more remakes, and fewer new ideas. Games will balloon in length, not because developers have more to say, but because every extra hour is another excuse to sell you a battle pass, a loot box, a cosmetic skin. This is how creativity dies, not in a single scandal or collapse, but through the slow suffocation of imagination under
no breathing,
the choking weight of financial optimization. So, to reiterate, the downfall of Xbox isn't just...
I like how it's all the downfall. It's all Xbox. Again, look at this. She's showing Hi-Fi Rush. That game, people, I'll tell you this, that thing looks amazing. And Nintendo and Sony don't have jack shit like that, right? That's an original IP. Yes, it didn't work out for them, but guess what? Guess whose fault that is? That's your fault. That's the people that purchased this original IP. Because when you don't buy these original IPs, they have no reason to keep making them. They need to make money on this. This is a business. They can't pour millions of dollars into this game production and then you don't buy it and they're just going to keep making it. This is not a charity. Yes, the people that made that game are passionate. You could tell the game looks beautiful. It's beautiful. It plays very well too. It's very interesting. I like it. I played some. I really enjoy it. But you can't shit on them and act like they're not trying because they funded this project and they just keep funding projects. They are the only company in the industry right now that is funding original IP. And they're not just doing remasters. They're not Sony and Nintendo, right? They're not charging upgrade fees. They're putting out new IP after new IP after new IP, okay? Now we're going to look at a little bit of something here. I'm going to show you this real quick. There's a lot of documents I didn't show you guys. I compiled here. It's like, why didn't I compile it, right? So this is about the Game Pass, all right? Give me 1 second. I got to bring it over here so I can read it. It says Xbox spends billions on gaming. Xbox commitment to gaming is evident in its substantial spending on the Game Pass subscription service. The company spends over $1 billion annually to support third-party games, ensuring a diverse range of titles for its subscribers. Right there, people. That's investment. That is an investment. Let's see if Sony does that. Let's see if Nintendo does that. Again, in order for you to be playing Ninja Gaiden right now, Ninja Gaiden 4, day one, that kind of stuff, and have those games on there, these guys are spending hundreds of millions of dollars for you to have that on that service. Okay? That's a big risk, that alone. All right, so the third part, $1 billion annual to support third-party games, ensuring a diverse range of titles for its subscribers. This investment is crucial for maintaining the service's financial viability and providing a platform for both major and indie developers. Keep in mind, it says indie. They have indie developers on there as well, okay? It's not a bad thing. This is how you discover a lot of those games. They mix in these indie games with these much bigger titles. It says the spending on Game Pass is a testament to Xbox's strategy of offering a wide variety of games and fostering a subscription-based model that can sustain its growth and popularity, okay? So they keep this thing alive and relevant. It isn't like Sony's garbage where they're putting shovelware in there and old shit, and they're charging you $20 for that.
Bad news for its loyal fans. It's a flashing red warning light for everyone who cares about gaming as an art form. Sony will have less reason to need to take risks. Nintendo...
They're having to take risks because already right now, Sony's talking about hybrid consoles. They know that these guys are disrupting the market and it's very dangerous for Sony.
Can remain comfortably insular, forever recycling its past glories. And the major publishers will standardize everything around the same.
Here's some more stuff about what Sony's doing. They're talking about in the future, there's going to be a dual demand, they're saying, for AI-generated games and human-created games. All right? And they have no problem with this. Sony is invested in AI, in this AI shit. Okay, it's in here somewhere. I'm going to give you a direct quote in this article somewhere. It says, this is one of the guys, the leads at Sony. It says, I suspect that there will be a dual demand in gaming, one for AI-driven innovation. Give me 1 second. I got to make the screen bigger. AI-driven innovation experiences, and another for handcrafted, thoughtful content. All right. He said they're striking the right balance between leveraging AI and preserving the human touch will be crucial. So they're talking about creating a balance there, but they're admitting that who knows, well, not who knows, but what they're saying there is maybe they won't find a delicate balance. Maybe that these games are going to have a heavy reliance on AI. That's not cool, but they're saying, oh, we're going to try to strike a balance, which is pretty directly telling you they're going to be firing a lot of their human employees, right? So she don't really say that. We'll just put it all on Xbox.
Safest possible return. We'll get the same experiences over and over and over again, rebranded, repackaged.
This is my favorite thing because once again, this lady loves herself some Nintendo. Look at this. You look there. You see Zelda. She put it on there. But she's talking about Xbox rebranded, the same experience over and over and over again. Super Mario, right? Mario Kart, all that shit. I showed you this already. Mario Kart, $80. The physical copy of it is $90. Nintendo over here selling you trash, barely any money invested in, and they're charging you all that money, right?
A flashing red warning light for everyone who cares about gaming as an art form. Sony will have less reason to need to take risks. Nintendo can remain comfortably insular, forever recycling its past glories. And the major publishers will
So there you go. She said it, but they've been recycling their shit forever. There's nothing new about that.
standardize everything around the safest possible return. We'll get the same experiences over and over and over again, rebranded, repackaged, and resold as nostalgia. All while the sense of wonder that once defined gaming quietly rots away.
Your phone can...
All right, so there you go. It quietly rots away. She's kind of a little bit all over the place. She's shit on Xbox the whole time, and then she brings up how they're going to be recycling Nintendo or whatever's going to be recycling their games. It's like, lady, they're already recycling their games. Like, their launch for their new Switch 2 is packed full of games they released a decade ago or more. In some cases, 2 decades ago. All right? But they're charging you prices of titles that just came out last week, which is pretty disgusting. Just got to let you know that. All right, we're going to go to Nintendo's site here. The amazingness, there you go, right there, right? Hyrule, once again, Nintendo milking their franchises. I think that's connected to Zelda, right? Holiday gift guide. Let's look at some of these amazing, that Nintendo difference, right? Because these guys aren't very bad. They're not evil. Let's just harp on the fucking Xbox the whole damn time, right? I saw some prices in here that are really egregious. Disgusting stuff. There you go, $70. This is the one I showed you earlier. You download it for $70. Got DRM on there. You don't even own it. No connection to the internet. You don't own that game. I tell anybody, if you want to play Mario, that game, Galaxy, just go buy a physical copy for the Wii. Play it on a Wii. Or buy a physical copy and then go download the game on the internet. Because you have a legal right to it, I think, at that point. Not I think you really do. You have a legal right to it. You can copy it. And you can't sell it to somebody, but you can keep it for yourself. Just saying, if if it gets damaged, you put it away, make a copy of it, and then put away the full release. Right? I can never understand why people would buy this shit here, because the Steam Deck blows this away, or the Xbox Ally, right? It blows the Switch 2 away. You want to know why? Because when you purchase games on that Switch 2, you're locked into Nintendo's bullshit. And these guys in the next gen, when they put out their Switch 3, are going to charge you again. They're going to say, you want an upgrade of that title? Oh, give us more money. But they're going to charge you more money for what you have already purchased. They're not like Xbox that's going to give you these upgrades for free. Oh, you're going to get a natural update on everything because it's just built to do that, to upgrade it all. These guys over here, they're just picking and choosing. Like cherry picking what games are going to get a little upgrade, and then they charge you for it. Okay? It's pretty gross. When you buy a Xbox Ally or Switch, you're getting the PC versions of those. So those get upgrades forever. Right? Free upgrades. So when if you buy a new graphics card or you have a high-end PC or even an Xbox, if you guys get an Xbox, the next Xbox, your Steam games run on that. That's going to play Steam. All the Steam games, the GOG, all of that. So anything you buy on PC right now, you're going to be able to play on the next Xbox. Okay? Same software. It's all going to run at the high end because they're saying this thing's going to be super high end. Right? This Switch shit, if you buy this or or if you buy this, this shit doesn't get better when the next system comes out, right? It doesn't. It stays the same. Right now, if you got a bunch of Switch 1 games on this system, they play like shit. If they had low quality graphics and low frame rates, they have low frame rates and low quality graphics on this platform. They play just as shitty, right? Except maybe they have a locked 30 frames. But it's got all the same trash. It's got trash graphics, right? So it's a terrible investment. You guys want a portable system, buy yourself an Xbox Ally or a Steam Deck. That's it. Or one of the other portables they have out there, like I forgot the name. There's some other big ones out there. The something Go 2. I forget what it's called. The Galaxy Go. I forget. But there's some big ones. But I would suggest Steam Deck or Xbox Ally. I think the Xbox Ally is in some ways a better purchase. Because the OS is just way better in that Xbox Ally. But I like both of them because when it comes to compatibility, sometimes that Steam Deck actually has better compatibility. And I think for certain titles, older titles, like for example, Chronicles of Riddick runs really well on the Steam Deck. On the Xbox, I'm having some compatibility problems on there, on the Xbox Ally. And I think it's because the system was just released, and that's a very old title. It's not that old. It's like 10, 15 years old, which is pretty old, but come on. Yeah, come on. All right, so I was going to show you guys some of these games. Let's see. We'll see the Switch. All right, more games. I want to show you that awesome Nintendo difference. Look at this, guys. Look at this over here. $70 for this game that's an actual Switch title. That's a Switch title. This doesn't have a high development cost, but they decided they're going to bring up the prices, even though this is digital, and this is their first-party IP, which, unlike Nintendo, Xbox, when they put out a first-party IP, you know what these guys do? They many times sell it to you at a discount. For example, I think that new Gears of War, if you go and buy that, it's $50. You want to know why they do that? Because there's no licensing fees. They don't have to give up that money. So what they do is they pass that on to the consumer and they lop off money, right? They're cutting it down in price. Sometimes, another example is Gears of War Ultimate. When that came out, they charged $40 for that. And I think actually the Master Chief Collection was not a full price game either. I think that might have been around $40 or $60. So they know they don't have to pay anyone for this, right? This is their title that they developed. And so they're passing that on to the consumer, that discount. That's not what Nintendo does or Sony. They're charging you $70 for this. And they could very easily charge you $50 for that and still make a boatload of money. There's no royalty costs, you know. They're not sharing this money with anyone. This is on their marketplace. They make all this money. It all goes into their pocket. So they can sell this for $40 and still make loads and loads and loads of money. But that's not how Nintendo rolls, okay? Oh yeah, you got Kirby over here. Air Riders. That's got to be worth fucking $70. And guys, that's probably got a massive budget. Let's see this.
Are you ready? Get set. Anything goes in Kirby Air Riders. Jump into the...
Oh my God, that $70 difference. Isn't that amazing? That must have had a massive budget.
free-for-all mayhem of City Trial and Battle Rivals.
That shit looks worse than some Dreamcast games.
Doing whatever it takes to collect power-ups to prepare your machine for an epic challenge. So get ready for anything. Kirby Air Riders, available exclusively on Nintendo Switch.
Oh my God, exclusively, it looks like shovelware. That's what it looks like. That shit look like garbage. Okay, I like Kirby, but I definitely don't like that piece of shit. All right, we're gonna go down. Oh well, that's $19. Wow. What is that, like an upgrade pack, guys? Look at that. $20 for an upgrade. Nice, nice. That's that Nintendo difference, right? You got a weird wheelchair game over here. What is this? Games. It's Kirby Banana, whatever the fuck it's called. Here you got your $10 upgrade pack. Like I told you earlier, there's no free upgrades. You need to give them more money to unlock the system you purchased, okay? Legend of Zelda, $80 for this game that came out years ago. That's a Nintendo Switch title that came out years ago. You got this other one over here that's coming out, right? Or is it out? Okay, so this one came out. Look at that. $80. This game was I think this is the one that was actually on the Wii U. This game is like 10 years old, right? And it's now in, I think, in 4K maybe. There's no upgrade. They just brought up the resolution. They're charging $70 for a upgrade in resolution. That is a Wii U game for $70. Then you got Mario Kart, $80. Okay? Talk about getting fucking ripped off. But she goes in, the lady, and she harps on the Xbox the whole damn time. You're gonna spend $70 on the inferior version of this Resident Evil game. No fucking thank you. I'd rather buy it on a Steam Deck or an Xbox Ally, because then I know that I can transfer that title that I purchased and play it on a high-end PC. That's the best value you can get. That's where you should be. If you're going to be playing video games and you want a portable system, this is not the portable to purchase. This is locking you into their garbage ecosystem where you get, in many ways, one of the lowest quality portable versions of this title. Okay? The Steam Deck is better. It's a better choice. Because once again, that Steam Deck title, you can put that in, you can play it in the Xbox Ally. You can play it on your PC. If you purchase it on a Steam Deck portable console, you can transfer that to a high-end PC if you buy one in the future or you currently have one. if you go and you buy an Xbox in the next generation, you're going to be able to play that game on your Xbox. So that's way more value in that, okay? So we're going to finish the rest of this video, but before we get into it, remember to subscribe to the Real Food TV, the great channel on demand. You're watching The Breakdown. This is a fanboy here. I was supposed to show you some other price differences, all right? 1 second. We're going to wait. This lady's highly monetized. She's monetized, people. Wow, she's so cool. It's really annoying that they don't let us be monetized. So remember, if you want to support the Real Food TV, you can donate to our Venmo. It's in the description of every video on this amazing, amazing channel, right?
Caught in the middle of this implosion are the players. Gamers will pay more for less. More for digital licenses that can disappear at the flick of a switch. More for live service husks designed to extract rather than entertain. And more for experiences that they'll never truly own. Ownership itself is dying, replaced by a rented reality that can be revoked the moment it stops being profitable.
At least they offer you the fucking ability to, in a way, rent these, because you got Nintendo and Sony that don't offer a Game Pass-like platform. So what they do is they charge you full price, $70, $80, $90 for titles you don't even fucking own.
But the most dangerous consequence of all of this is normalization. Microsoft's financial
It's already got normalized because these motherfuckers never cried about it. They just bitched about the Xbox having DRM, and then these dumb motherfuckers went out and they bought a PlayStation. If you are against DRM, you should not be purchasing any of these consoles. You shouldn't even be buying games on Steam because all this shit is DRM. But one of the worst things about the consoles is the fact that they sell you these fucking discs for these high prices and you don't even own the games that are on them. That's the craziest thing to me. And the fact that I need an internet service provider in order to access the expensive games I purchased.
Is creating a new industry expectation.
Some bullshit.
One that should never exist in the creative field. Developers now have less freedom. Players now get fewer risks. Everyone is losing its presence except the shareholder.
Damn, I gotta play Metro. I'm looking at this. I've never actually finished Metro 2. Never have. I finished the first one. I really enjoyed it, actually. I don't know if you guys are into Metro. What are the G2A prices? What do you mean by that, man? What do you mean? G2A, what is that?
It's a structural rot, devaluing everything from the people who make games to the people who love them. And yet, somehow, they still dare to call it progress, consolidation, AI-driven efficiency.
I mean, look, it was never progressive when they started making it where you had to install your games. I mean, look, we went from a standard that was far better. We went from owning our games, right? Owning these titles to not owning them. We went from being able to just pop the cartridge in or the disc and the game just starts. Now we have to install them. You put the disc in there, and you got to wait like an hour. Right? In some cases, 2 hours. If you're installing something like Red Dead Redemption or whatever, like how did that become the new standard, having to wait to play your games? When you purchase them, the standard was that you put it in the system and it just starts. Right? And I've said this many times. I think one of the reasons why they started making you install these titles is to get you used to the idea of installing your games, right? Where you're loading them in because they're all digital. That's the future they're going towards, is digital. So you don't have ownership and everything's digital. So you really can get it all shut off. So if you go in there for any reason, they could probably just cut off your ability to even play these titles because you don't even own them. They might just say, hey, you were mean, so you can't play these games that you purchased. That's why I refuse to even buy games on these consoles. I just use Game Pass, right? And I just kind of rent them. Yeah, they're in there. And if I like them, I might buy them later on. I might. Maybe I'll go on GOG and buy them to own them, because on GOG there is no DRM. They have a standard where you cannot have DRM on there, right? It's about game preservation, and I appreciate that.
Subscription.
One of the big problems this shit all happened is because people were okay with it. They cried all day about DRM on the Xbox, and then they proceeded to go buy all their fucking games digitally. They went and they bought PlayStations instead of Xboxes. A company in PlayStation that screws them over, that doesn't give a fuck, that truly doesn't give a fuck about them. I mean, they're really just shitting on their consumer. Like another example of that is going back to Uncharted. Look at that. They took the online out of Uncharted. They haven't made a new Uncharted game in this current generation. Like, what the fuck happened to Uncharted? And then you have games like Killzone. They just pulled all the online out and they abandoned it, right? Like, that's just crazy that you put out Uncharted, you take the online out. Like, how little do you give a fuck about the people that actually gave you all that money? Because there's loads of people that loved the Uncharted Online. Right now on PlayStation, you need to own 2 versions of Uncharted. Like, if you want to get 4K for Uncharted, you have to buy what they call the Thieves Collection or whatever. You buy that. That's 4K. Then you have another version, which is the PlayStation 4 version, and that one has online. But guess what? There's no upgrades. None. There's no upgrades on that one. So they don't use the hardware to advance that game at all on the PlayStation 5. You just get the PS4 version. And the crazy part is that the PS4 version is better than the PS5 version. Because the PS5 version, you're just getting a bump in frame rate, which really isn't that meaningful. I don't think it is. I think 60 frames was fine, right? I played Uncharted 4 when it was 30 frames, and I enjoyed it, okay? It's a great looking game, and it had online. The online was 60 frames. Now, when you go on it, you're getting what? If you got the PS4 version, the single player is 30 frames. It's locked at 30. The online is 60. Why isn't the online 120 frames for the online? It's not 120. It's still 60. And the single player is still 30 frames. But if you go and purchase this other version, which is simply a patched version of a PS4 game, now they pulled the online out of it. So, and I made a video about this months ago. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get you to buy 2 fucking copies of the same game. That's why they ripped the online out of the PS5 version. So now you got to buy both. It's like, oh, they got an online for that? Oh, but I don't own that PS4 one. Now you buy the PS4 one, and imagine you own the PS4 version. Now you're like, oh, well, I want 4K and 120 frames. Now you got to buy the PS5 version. It's fucking disgusting. And none of these channels point this shit out. I've never seen a game journalist ever point out that scam. And that's what that is. That's a scam. There's no reason why Sony shouldn't just have patched that PS4 game. They should have just patched it, put the 120 frames in the online and single player, and gave you fucking 4K. Okay? But no, they want $50 and they want you to buy both versions so that they can make even more. Right? Because, well, just imagine you didn't own any of these games. So when you go and you buy one of these versions of it, you're missing features. So you have to go buy the other one. Right? So now Sony's double dipping. It's disgusting. It's some disgusting practices, and it's never been exposed. I exposed it, but no one really cares, right? None of these people care. And the algorithm doesn't let, and this platform doesn't let us build, probably because we're a little too honest over here. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe too much communication. Maybe, I don't know.
Systems. Dress it up however you like. It's still the same hollow pursuit. Xbox was once a symbol of boldness, of competition, of daring to...
Yeah, it's not bold to spend $70 billion, okay? Not bold at all, right?
Challenge the status quo, and now it's a corporate experiment in how far...
They were always corporate. They have always been a corporation. I don't know what you thought. What was this, a mom and pop shop?
A company can exploit its own audience before they...
Yeah, they're really exploiting them by making original content and actual new versions of these games in this series, the new Halo. When I hear they're making another Halo, and it's just another step in the story, okay? It's progressing forward. They're not just milking it like the other companies. They're investing constantly.
Finally walk away. And if this twisted model temporarily works, the rest of the industry could follow it straight into the abyss. So yes, this should terrify gamers, because the very survival of gaming as a creative medium depends on companies remembering that imagination matters more than short-term margins. On the positive side, though, we do actually have far more power than we realise. We can demand sustainability, honesty and artistry. We can refuse to accept a future where every innovation is treated as a financial risk that must justify itself by next...
It's like, lady, that's never changed. The gaming industry has always been like this. This is why, when it comes to creativity, this is in all markets, people. This is what happens. Even in the music industry, they see one guy, one band sells. And so what they do is they try to turn all the other bands into that successful band. This happens. People sometimes do this on their own, of their own free will. They like a band, so they kind of copy them. So for financial reasons or because they really like them. So they try to sound like them. There's nothing new here. This has been done many times. There's a game out there called Saints Row. It came out. It was originally called a what do you call it? GTA clone, right? What was that doing? That was trying to capitalize on a game that made big money. This is always going to happen. Now these guys can push them in order to make big money, but it happens. But the thing is, what you fail to understand is just because you're copying a game that's successful doesn't mean that your game's going to be successful. Your game actually, people might see right through it and say, well, this is too similar to the other one. I don't care about this. I'd rather just play the other one, right? Just because you just can't just churn out games like that, people. She thinks like you're just going to copy these games and it's just going to work. It might not work. And actually what happens after that is maybe, this is the thing with the audience. If you see an original idea and you appreciate that there's a new style of game or in the market, then you buy that game. But if you don't buy that game, don't get pissed off when they go back to what is successful, right? When they go back to what's selling, because that's just the way it works, because it's a business. And when people pour millions of dollars into a production and that goes belly up, it's kind of hard to get money to do it again, right? Even though people loved it, if it doesn't make money, then it will not be created again. It's very unlikely. Or it will not progress as a franchise.
Because once creative ambition is replaced by financial engineering, the industry will stop building
It
wealth.
only works if the product is engaging and entertaining, right? I don't like any of these fucking comic book movies, but people keep buying them, and that's why they keep making them. That's just the way it works.
For us to explore and start building systems designed only to keep us spending. And that, as customers, is in none of our interests. The Xbox leaks don't just...
Lady, look, if people like it and they want more of it, then they're going to spend on it. That's just the way it is. You like your Super Mario, okay? So just stop.
Expose a floundering console. They expose a...
All right, so it says Xbox is about to put the nail in its own coffin. It's called, as a console brand, if this latest next-gen console rumor is legitimate. Xbox, what on earth are you doing? All right? So it's always negative with the Xbox.
Company that's forgotten what makes games valuable in the first place. The 30% profit mandate, the mass layoffs, the studio closures, the AI obsession, they're all symptoms of the same...
The AI obsession. The whole fucking world's obsessed with AI now. It's being pushed like crazy. I guess she's new to the show. We've been saying it for months on our channel, on our CW News. The Donald Trump, when he came into power in the United States, when he became president again, his first thing he did was, I think, invest somewhere around $500 billion into an AI infrastructure. Okay? That's a lot of fucking money to invest into AI, and they're all heavily invested in it. I don't agree with it. I think it's going to be a big problem. They're predicting it's going to be a big problem for human labor. Big, big, big. It's going to cause a lot of disruption in civilization in the what they call the first world. Big problems. A lot of unemployed people. We're talking about over 100 million unemployed people in the first world. In the United States alone, they're projecting. Okay? It's a big problem. She's going on about Xbox, but this is big everywhere. It's not cool that this is happening, but the thing is, the gamer is going to be happy the fact that these games are going to come out quicker, right? So if they can create a 3D model in a few hours instead of a few days, right, or a week or so, because when I heard some of these models take a long time, so if these guys can pump out some of these assets quicker, they're going to do that, okay? They're going to do it because it's more efficient. In some ways, it's more efficient, but sometimes that efficiency comes with a price. And when it comes to AI, that's a big price. I feel like it's a very big price, that efficiency. You have many unemployed people, many hungry people out there,
Sickness. A corporate culture that sees art as a liability and creativity as an expense to be managed. And
I mean, she's pointing out shit that's always been the case. Art as a liability. I don't know about that, but because like I said, many times the original idea will make a lot of money, but it's up to you as a gamer or as a person that loves the gaming medium. If you want creative stuff, you always got to purchase it. All right. You got to buy it when it comes out.
No mistake. This isn't just an Xbox problem. It's a warning to everyone, because if Microsoft, one of the richest, most powerful companies on earth, can convince itself that creativity must turn a profit within
I like that it's all Microsoft. You got to keep in mind, again, they're one of the only companies that's pushing out original IP, new IP. Sony and Nintendo are putting out nothing. Even Valve, you look at the guys that created Steam, they're not putting out IP. They're resting just like Sony on all their licensing fees. That's where all their money comes from. This is why even they're going to have some issues in this next gen, because the Xbox is going to drive people to their marketplace using Game Pass. It's got a lot of value there. And so you're going to get that Game Pass. And along with that, they're going to have a lot of software. And so their whole thing is they're trying to go to war with everyone, with Valve, with Sony, all of it. Now they come out there and they play nice and they're like, oh, we just want to put everything on everything. And they do want to do that, but they do want to own this new world of, you know, the ecosystem mixed with services and software. They got them beat on everything. All they need to do now when it comes to the Xbox is get that same software that Valve has, you know, that huge pool of games, because the Steam has a lot of games on there, but they're not owned by Valve. There are many different third parties. So they can pull those guys all in on the next console. And I think they're going to do that. They're going to get all these different companies and they're going to bring them all into the Xbox ecosystem. That's not to say that they own them, but they're going to have loads more software, because now they don't just have mostly console stuff. They have thousands and tens of thousands of PC games in there.
Exact same quarter it's created, then no developer, no publisher, no platform is safe from that logic. If others follow, gaming won't implode, it'll erode. None of this was inevitable. Gaming has always lived at the crossroads of art and commerce, but it thrived where imagination came first and profit followed. What these leaks reveal...
Don't know about that one. I think many times in gaming development and movies and music, many times at the head of it is money. A lot of times it is money. That's not always the case, right? A lot of times when money is the key factor in any kind of art project, in any kind of art, a lot of times it's shit. It is shit, because at its core, it's rotten. It's all about money. Now, obviously, we need money in this system in order to survive, in order to have property or to eat, or to have tools in order to hunt or whatever. I mean, you could create tools and hunt, but you need to, you know, if you have a piece of land, you obviously got to pay property costs and all these other costs. But when it comes to art, if the root of it is just money, and many times it is shit. But it's not like this is a new thing. This is how it's always been. She's acting like this is some new thing now. It's just all about money. And that's not the case. It's not just about money, because even if it's a done to death style of game, for example, like a shooter or a platformer, that doesn't mean that these guys can't pour their heart into that old, you know, time tested style of gaming that people like. They can put their own spin on it, and it's still going to be impressive, right? That happens. That happens many times. You see it many times. You look at something like Fallout. That's a first-person shooter. They blended it with an RPG. Same thing with Cyberpunk, right? That's a first-person shooter, but with a RPG applied to it. This was not a thing that was happening like 20 years ago. Not really. They didn't make games like that. When it was a first-person shooter, it was a very linear experience. In many ways, it was similar to a two-dimensional game. I mean, if you really look at it, when you're on rails, that style is similar to like a arcade game, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, right? It's on rails. Those were like what they call like side scrollers or vertical shooters or whatever, right? Except it's in a 3D plane, but it's a linear experience, right? But what we're seeing now is we're seeing like the blending of RPGs and first-person shooters. So that's a new hybrid that's come out around the last like 15, 20 years. And so, like I said, just because it's an older style and it's in the pursuit of lots of money because it's it's a shooter. So those have been proven to be very profitable. But they've blended it together with an RPG. So now, it's something new in a way. So again, if it is born from money, but they got passionate people in these companies who are still going to make something special, right? Or something entertaining or engaging. So this doom and gloom she's spitting here, I don't really agree with it. In some ways I do, but there's always greed in the world, and there's going to be greed in every market, right? And yes, they're trying to make a lot of money here because you got to keep in mind, gaming has never grown the way the motion picture industry has, or music and so on, right? This is why because you got to own the box in order to access this material. And this is the big thing with the Xbox. They're trying to branch it out so that everybody can get access to it. Because it's kind of hard to ask a person who doesn't play games to go out and buy a fucking $500 console, okay? $500 console to engage in something that they don't engage with. They don't really play games. This is why one of their biggest moves when the Xbox was getting these games that are like on cell phones, right? I think like Minecraft, or like games that run on everything. I think Minecraft is one of them. That's one of their biggest franchises. They want to get on those cell phones because everyone has one of those. This is why this thing they're doing with the hybrid console, I think might actually be really big, because people need computers to do their work, right? They need it. Even if they don't play games, they need these computers to do their work. So if they're able to put out this console that's a hybrid console that has a Windows PC in it, and these people have kids, right? They have kids, or maybe the husband likes to play games. It's usually a husband. Maybe a wife will play them too a little bit. But the thing is, once you have that gaming in there and they're on the hook with that gaming part, then there's more of a chance of people to get into gaming, right? People who maybe not usually play games. You're putting it in there. It's sort of like, obviously everyone needs a computer. Most people need a computer for their work, or, a lot of people got computers, people. Everyone got computers. So if you can mix that together and hook in the gaming with that PC, right? And the guy's like, oh, I need a PC, but my kid likes games. So you're going to be hooking in a lot of people. And even if you don't have kids, you're going to buy this box and then you're going to get into gaming. It's kind of, what do you call it? Like a Trojan horse in a way, right? It's just kind of there. So they're messing around with different strategies on how to do this Xbox. So I think in a lot of ways, if this sells, there's going to be a lot more money. And so and if these games if the original ideas are selling and people are actually purchasing games that are original, then you're going to see original ideas. Because if those are making more money than the Call of Duties of the world and these proven franchises, or as much as these proven franchises, then there's no reason why gaming can't progress and have original ideas. Like, she's making this like they're never going to make original games ever again. Everything's going to be Call of Duty. I don't believe that for a second.
Bill, isn't just greed, it's amnesia. The industry forgot the one truth.
People, we saw this back in the day when every game was a platformer. They didn't make money because when everything's the same, you get lost in the shuffle. You gotta be a little different. It has to be that way. If it's all the same, then you're just going to go under the radar. So it's not a smart investment to make everything the same. It makes no financial sense. It doesn't. Unless you're getting in and you're doing a similar style early on. But when everyone's doing the same shit, you get lost in the shuffle. For example, look at all these fucking game channels on YouTube. Like, I'm making this here, and people, I'll tell you this, I've seen a lot of these gaming influencers on here. This shit is garbage. Most of them do garbage. They really do. They don't have they got garbage hot takes. They don't really work hard at this at all. This lady, in some ways, she's sort of decent, but she's got this very anti-Xbox bend, like the whole fucking video. And at the very end, she's over here like saying, oh, it's the whole industry, right? But the whole time, she's just fucking shitting on the Xbox. Even though they're, in many ways, the most creative company in the industry right now. They're putting out the most original IP. They're putting in the most investments when it comes to money and capital. These guys are heavily invested in gaming. There's no other company I know of that's spending this much fucking money on gaming. But they're out of here. They're done. They're weak. It's like all this negative stuff. Anyway, people, we're doing a lot of gaming stuff here. Going back to my example, we're doing some stuff here that I think is different. I'm doing an actual thought piece and analyzing this and trying to be as detailed as I can be. Sort of. I got some more info here I didn't bring up. But you go look at all these other creators on it, content creators, people just playing video games. This channel is completely lost in the shuffle. And that's just what happens. That's what happens. But that has a lot to do with the platform holder, because this YouTube shit is just, it's shit. U-Cylinder is a turd, okay? Let's listen to more of this. They don't spread the channel, people. They don't. That's what it is. It doesn't get exposure because YouTube's a piece of shit.
That's built it. The greatest currency gaming ever had was passion. Once profit margins matter more than players.
Just saying, you get lost in the shuffle when everything's the same. You get lost in the shuffle when you do something different. Sometimes you don't get lost in the shuffle because you stick out like a sore thumb, right? It's like a diamond in the rough. That's what we are. But this platform's a piece of shit. Fuck you! YouTube.
Satisfaction, there simply won't be any players left to play their games. Don't forget that. I know where you can find some of the best releases for next to nothing. Use my links below to save huge money on Final Fantasy X.
All right, save some huge money. I mean, that's so greedy. You're over here trying to make money? What the fuck? You greedy piece of beep. Look at this. She's trying to advertise our dumbass poopy. This guy over here, you still Xbox shilling. Shut up. What are the G2A prices? What does that mean? What are you talking about there, AMAC? Tell us. All right, AMAC. What is that? No one's shilling over here, right? No one's shilling here at all. But with that said, it is now 11:30. All right. Gonna be getting the F out of here. I want to thank all you guys for coming in here. All right, we're gonna be back real soon. We're gonna be actually be doing a new episode of Food Theater tomorrow. We might actually be doing not Food Theater, and we also have a new episode of what's the other one that we have that we're doing? We're doing a new episode of the what we call the Master Debaters. We're gonna be analyzing a video. What is it? Some channel called I forgot the Culling or what the hell's the name of that guy's channel? Anyways, some guy did a debate of some feminist or something, and we're going to be analyzing that. I think it's an interesting debate in that it's so terrible. Now we have a new episode of the Food Theater, and we got all kinds of stuff, people. But tomorrow or the day after, we're going to be doing a new episode of Food Sports Live, because there's some stuff going down. There's a UFC event this weekend, and there's some drama and some different things to talk about in the world of combat sports, because that's what we talk about on the Food Sports Live, people. We don't care about any of the sports. They're all for bitches, all right? We're not bitches over here. We're incredibly talented, all right? All right, what else we got? Yes, we got all kinds of stuff coming up on this channel, people, but we're going to be migrating a lot of our content to rumble.com. We're going to be putting that link in the description soon. I might do it after the show. But till then, all right, we'll be back soon, people. And by soon, I mean probably tomorrow, or maybe I'll play a game or something later, but it's getting late. All right, I want to thank all you for coming in here tonight. And if you want to find it in your heart to give us at least $100 or $1 or whatever, our Venmo's in the description of every video on this channel. I want to thank all you guys for coming in here. All right, got El Barbarino, we got AMAC came in here trolling, all kinds of people. Mr. Pelavakis, that's Don Bob over there. The tacos. All right, got millions of people in here. It's freaking crazy how influential we are. But once again, people, we love you. Have a good night. See you later. One second. Look at this guy still trolling. Yeah, no one's shilling, okay? No one's shilling at all. You son of a... Have a good night. See you later, trolls. Not you guys. You guys are good. It's AMAC. He's a troll. He's a troll in there.